3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
From the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to what is a very busy Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of our great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, X, at Zach Gelb. That is ZACHGELB. We got a whole lot to do today. It was a very busy last few days. Late Thursday night, we got into D.C., we did the show from Army-Navy Radio Row on behalf of USAA. That was a good grand old time. Then I got back on a train on Friday evening. Stu stayed for the Army-Navy game. Saturday morning, I ended up doing my show here on WFAN in New York City, then went to the Heisman Trophy presentation, Got a chance to talk to Cam Ward, got a chance to talk to Ashton Jeanty, in addition to Dylan Gabriel and the Heisman Trophy winner in Travis Hunter. And then Sunday, got up, did the show here, Sunday Morning Football, then got in a car and went down to South Philadelphia, where I was covering the Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Got back in late last night, and away we go for another week of the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. I have a very interesting perspective on a lot of things today. Since, I'm a talk show host that I like to go to the events and then give you my perspective. So I have interesting insight from the Heisman Trophy, also from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and a conversation that I had with Russell Wilson. But I learned something over the weekend when it pertains to the Philadelphia Eagles that I didn't think I would have this take. And hear me out. Last week, I thought was a bleep show for the Eagles. I thought A.J. Brown was being your stereotypical diva wide receiver where he wasn't happy with the production and the performance from the previous week, which some of those concerns are valid and some of them aren't. And he caused havoc. Brandon Graham didn't help the situation, but supposedly the Eagles behind closed doors had an airing of grievance. Now, if the Eagles would have lost yesterday, that would have been a complete and utter disaster, right? What we would have been talking about today? Man, this locker room is going to derail this team. Man, A.J. Brown's being a diva. Man, A.J. Brown is being selfish. And Nick Sirianni doesn't have control of his team. And Nick Sirianni's getting walked over because he's a player's coach, but he's a player's coach that's a doormat. That would have been all this today. But the Eagles got out to that 17-3 start. They got A.J. Brown involved early, and they won through the air via A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and yes, Jalen Hurts. Because Saquon Barkley didn't have this incredible performance yesterday. So after the game, I heard A.J. Brown say to the media, which, right, I'm involved in, and I was in that locker room, where A.J. Brown said his celebration was planned with Jalen Hurts to basically get everyone to shut up. Even though they created the problem, they created the controversy, you got to nip it in the bud, and them celebrating together looking like they're best pals and best friends was to get everyone to stop talking. Jalen Hurts sat down at the podium, and he was like, this is what everyone wanted to see, right? And Jalen Hurts kept on saying, like how he always does in his post-game press conference, keep the main thing the main thing. So, here's what I took away. And also, you had a very animated Nick Sirianni who went out of his way in at least, it was 3 or 4 times in one answer to say very simply, he thought that it was a little bit of an overreaction and it was blown out of proportion in terms of how people categorize and view the Eagles' passing attack. So here's my takeaway from being in Philadelphia yesterday. And let me tell you this. If you would have told me as I was walking into the link that this would have been my takeaway, I would have said you're crazy. I think what happened this past week is the best thing to happen to the Philadelphia Eagles. The fact that they were on a 9-game win streak, now they have won 10 in a row, and they were able to let it all out. And they had genuine, honest conversations behind closed doors. Now, we don't know exactly everything that was said, but enough was said. And here is what I would hope would happen with A.J. Brown moving forward, which I don't know if it will, because A.J. Brown was the same player who was pouting on the sidelines as the Eagles were beating the New York Football Giants in a divisional round game, and he wasn't happy with his targets. But I hope every player in that Eagles locker room realizes this after what has just transpired the last week. You got to keep the main thing as the main thing. And that is to go get a Lombardi trophy to Philadelphia. Because if you get a Lombardi trophy to Philadelphia, no one's going to sit back and say, hey, remember that time that A.J. Brown in the Super Bowl only had 4 catches for 40 yards and the Eagles won the Super Bowl? No one's going to say that. They're going to say, Super Bowl champion A.J. Brown, Philadelphia legend. Super Bowl champion Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia legend. Super Bowl champion Devontae Smith, Philadelphia legend. Super Bowl champion Saquon Barkley, Philadelphia legend. Yeah, you remember moments. Yeah, you remember big plays. But do you really need to say much more than that if you end up winning? And I truly believe this. The only thing right now that could prevent the Eagles from winning a Super Bowl, as the Eagles are in the upper echelon of teams in the NFL, right? The 4 best teams in the NFL, in no order, are the Eagles, are the Lions, are the Buffalo Bills, and the Kansas City Chiefs. And when you look at all those teams, what could prevent Buffalo from winning it all? Well, their defense and maybe their coach in a big spot. What could prevent Kansas City from winning it all? I can't believe I'm saying this, but their inconsistencies on offense, and I know Patrick Mahomes got banged up, and now he's week to week. What could prevent the Lions from winning it all? Their injuries, and then whatever Dan Campbell was doing yesterday in a 10-point game with 10 minutes to go or 12 minutes to go, and he's kicking an onside kick when it's not a hit an onside kick, because now you have to declare that you're kicking an onside kick. And when I look at the Eagles, if I said 5 weeks ago, what could prevent the Philadelphia Eagles from winning it all, everyone would have the same answer. And the answer would have been their head football coach. And say what you want about Nick Sirianni, I don't think the Eagles are going to fail to win the Super Bowl this year because of Nick Sirianni. I don't. And I was the first one to lead the charge to get Sirianni out in the offseason. I was the first one to say early on in the season when they blew the game up against the Atlanta Falcons and other moments as well where he was just acting like a buffoon, that Sirianni's not the guy. But through all that, through this crazy roller coaster ride, the Eagles have won 10 in a row. So say what you want about Sirianni. He's a coach that wins a lot of football games. But I truly believe now the only reason the Eagles will not win the Super Bowl this year is if they allow selfish players to be selfish players. And A.J. Brown can't be a selfish player. And hopefully yesterday it's a lesson that A.J. Brown could learn. And maybe he has some sympathy, even though we all know Jalen Hurts is highly compensated. But he could have some sympathy that Jalen Hurts is the point guard and Jalen Hurts is the leader of this team. And he has to manage all these egos. And he has to manage all these weapons and all these mouths to feed. Because the Eagles have a loaded offense. They got a great offensive line. They have 2 great wide receivers in Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. You have a solid tight end in Dallas Goedert. You have a heck of a running back who, if it wasn't for Josh Allen, he'd be the MVP in Saquon Barkley. There's only one football. And in some weeks, and this is what makes the Eagles so great, is their diversity. Some weeks, they're going to give the ball to Saquon Barkley, and he's going to run, and they will run to a victory. In other weeks, you have 200-yard wide receivers like you saw yesterday, where the focal point is going to be A.J. Brown, and also it's going to be Devontae Smith. But when A.J. Brown is not the guy that's at the head of the table, and he's not getting all the access to the prime rib and the filet mignon and the tomahawk steak and all that, and right, he's got to wait his turn to eat, can't be crying about it. He can't be letting the team down, and he can't be derailing this season. So I hope yesterday was the moment where A.J. Brown realizes that. See, we could win, right? And you could get the ball, and you could be the star. But you won just like you've won the last 9 weeks when maybe you weren't the preeminent player, and it was Saquon Barkley. The Eagles need A.J. Brown to win a Super Bowl. The Eagles also need A.J. Brown to behave. And hopefully these moments of contention in the past week and having truthful conversations, A.J. Brown was able to realize where Jalen Hurts was coming from, and Jalen Hurts was able to realize where A.J. Brown's coming from. But this team has so much potential. This team has so much talent, and we've seen that even after a sloppy start, them be able to say, bleep that, and pull off 10 in a row, and even have some turbulence. But hopefully this past week just shows the Eagles and shows some of those players who were worried about their stats and their individual stats in the locker room that all that matters in Philadelphia is winning. Because this isn't a team that just has come on the scene. This is a team that a few years ago, they were in a Super Bowl with a very talented roster, and they blew a 10-point lead in the Super Bowl. And since then, it's Super Bowl or bust. And last year was an unmitigated disaster after starting off 10-1, and they won 1 game down the stretch. Now it's about turning that narrative around. Now it's about proving the doubters wrong. Now it's about proving the haters wrong and showing everyone and saying to everyone, shut the bleep up. Right? That's shut the bleep up to the critics. That's also shut the bleep up to the players in the locker room. And let's come together and let's also have great happiness in not only our individual success, but the team success. And it's not always going to be A.J. Brown's going to have 150 yards in a game and he's going to go get 12, 14 targets. Because what makes a great offense? Multiple ways to beat you. And sometimes the cornerbacks, right, in defense, they're going to game plan to try to slow down A.J. Brown. But that means there's more opportunities for a Saquon. There's more opportunities for a Devontae Smith. In other weeks, right, like you saw with the Steelers, you're going to load the box and say, we're not going to let Saquon beat us. And then guess who has to perform well to the best of their abilities? A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts like they did yesterday. So to be able to win, to be able to get some of this frustration out and have some of these moments and they won before them and they continue to win after them, that's the most important thing. But hopefully this moment, even though it was all in their own wrongdoing, it galvanizes this locker room to have a better understanding what a team is all about and how tough of a role it is for Jalen Hurts, where he is the face of the organization, he's the face of the franchise, and he has to find a way with one football to make everybody happy. But what truly should make everybody happy? It's not if you could have 12 catches for 100-something yards. It's not if you could have 20 carries for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's when you walk off that field, are you winning? And not only winning the regular season, but winning games in the postseason and walking away with that shiny Lombardi. So that's what I learned yesterday in Philadelphia. And I think whatever happened this past week was a wake-up call for the Eagles, and it got them all on the same page, even though it came in a very public and sloppy way. But after that game, you see the Eagles win it in the 4 o'clock window. You see the Lions, for the most part, pretty much get smacked around by the Buffalo Bills. And now the Lions are sitting there with a ton of injuries. Hutchinson, Aleem McNeil adds on yesterday. Unfortunately, David Montgomery's now out indefinitely. You already have the Anzalone injury, Malcolm Rodriguez, Carlton Davis. You know, it just goes on and on and on. And here's the great shame with the Detroit Lions. They're a team that they look like they had every possibility to go win a Super Bowl this year. And they still may. There's only 4 teams right now that I could see winning a Super Bowl this year. The Lions, the Eagles, the Buffalo Bills, and the Kansas City Chiefs. But sometimes it's supposed to be your year. And, right, don't we all kind of look at the Lions as a cursed franchise? Well, that curse is playing on out even though they're winning all these games and they just picked up their second loss of the season yesterday. And that curse is in injury form. And I just hope that this team, if they don't win the Super Bowl, it's not because, man, the rug was just pulled out from underneath them and they were just a wounded warrior as these injuries have really piled up. They could still win it, but you start to look at them differently because of some of the boneheaded decisions that Dan Campbell has made, which that who Dan Campbell is, right? He is aggressive, but sometimes when you're aggressive, you can make stupid decisions. And he made a stupid decision yesterday with that onside kick, but I think it was telling because he said, even though I can't hide the onside kick, I just don't trust my defense to make a stop. And he thought he had to change the momentum of the game. It was a dumb decision. But that's pretty telling when there's 12 minutes left in a game, right? It's a 10-point game, and you got to say, oh, yeah, we're going to do an onside kick because you have zero confidence that your defense is going to be able to make a stop. And I'll tell you right now, I won't give you all my power rankings, but when Take 5 Wednesday does come around on Wednesday, the Eagles are going to be in front of the Detroit Lions. I think right now the Eagles are a better team than the Detroit Lions. Like, offensively, they're very similar. When you look at Jalen Hurts and Jared Goff, when you look at the weapons that are there with Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Sam Laporta, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, right? There's a lot of talent. I slightly prefer, even though Ben Johnson is an elite play caller and a better play caller than what the Eagles have, but I slightly prefer the Eagles offense over the Lions offense. And then here's the biggest difference, because coaching right, Dan Campbell and Nick Sirianni win a lot of games. I think Dan Campbell's a more popular coach. But both coaches, would it surprise you if they're in the NFC Championship game and they're making boneheaded decisions? No. It wouldn't surprise you whatsoever. But here's the biggest difference between the Eagles and the Lions. It's the defense. It got off to a slow start. But what Vic Fangio is doing right now in Philadelphia is really special. And I know Aaron Glenn may turn out to be a head coach, and he may get a head coaching job, but that Lions defense, whether it's injuries or just not being all that good, man, they've been leaking, and they've been leaking a lot. So I think the Eagles right now are the better football team than the Detroit Lions. What say you? 855-212-4227, 42-27. I'm an open book. I don't like to be disingenuous to the listening audience. So let me just quickly address this. Obviously, there was a big announcement today where Jim Rome has announced that he's moving time slots and he's going to continue his partnership with Westwood One, and he's not going to be a part of the Infinity Sports Network anymore. Our relationship, and I love Jim. Jim is a legend in this business. He's a franchise, and we owe many thanks to Jim Rome for this network existing. Because if it wasn't for Jim Rome, this network would never have got off the ground. But what I say that this is confusing is the business side of it. Where for years we were called CBS Sports Radio, right? We're owned by a company that was Entercom, changed names to Odyssey, same company, but we're sold in terms of advertisement by Westwood One. So it's a really weird triangle. Now, obviously, now we're Infinity Sports Network. The partnership with CBS Sports ended. And for the last year and a half, 2 years, as it's been, we've been operated by Westwood One. We're owned by Odyssey. And I just want people to understand that. And some people may not care. Some people will. But I got a lot of tweets and a lot of people reaching out today that were like, oh, are you leaving the network? I'm not leaving the network. That's quite the contrary. I actually just signed a brand new contract. I just got extended to host this show on the Infinity Sports Network from the 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern time slot. I sound like I'm Jordan Belfort now. I'm not effing leaving. I'm not effing leaving. So I just want to make that crystal clear. So Jim has a partnership, obviously, and a very healthy partnership with Westwood. Westwood's going to distribute his show. Our show will still be on the Infinity Sports Network, and we hope your local affiliate continues to carry us. Because when you tune into the show, you get compelling sports talk, and you get some of the best industry guests, and that's the only way that I know how to do radio. You could always listen to us on one of your great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and also streaming live on YouTube. But I just want to make that abundantly clear because it's been reported different ways. It's been written about different ways. I've had friends reach out to me and they're like, sorry to hear that you lost your job. I go, I haven't lost my job. I actually just inked a new contract last week where I'm here in the 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern time slot. So I understand that it is confusing in somehow the way that it was announced, and then also people just not understanding how the network is operated. So good luck to Jim, obviously. Jim is a legend. Jim is the industry standard. Jim is an icon. But I just didn't want to not address it today at some point, and we won't do the whole show on it. But I didn't want to just let it be out there and then people not hear from me and then people assume things. And you know what happens when you assume. And trust me, I assume a lot. You make an ass out of you and me. So I have no clue if management wanted me to talk about that or not. Quite frankly, I don't really care when all these things are out there. And I love management, right? I have a very good relationship with Chris Olivero, David Mayernick, and also Ryan Hurley. But a lot of things have been out there. And also the folks at Westwood One. You know, I love them too, but a lot has been out there. I just wanted to clarify a few things. I am not leaving, folks. So you could stop sending the sorry you got let go, the sorry you got fired tweets. Once again, I'm happy to announce that I just signed a brand new contract to do the show on the Infinity Sports Network in the 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern time slot, the noon to 3 p.m. Pacific time slot as well. So that's all I got to say about that. All righty, we'll take a time out. We'll continue to do a sports radio show when we come on back. When we do return, I was at the Heisman Trophy on Saturday night. Travis Hunter won it all. Ashton Jeanty came in second. Did the Heisman voters? Oh, I'm one of them. Did we get that right? We'll talk about that on the other side. Football season is in full swing, and you take full advantage by winning some cash with Sleeper Picks. Sleeper Picks is a fantasy game, but you can win real money. Just pick more or less than at least 2 of your favorite player stats. If you're right, you could win. You can pick up to 8 players to win up to 100 times your money. For a limited time, Sleeper has a special offer. New users have to play $5, and they'll receive $55 in free bonus entries. That's right. If you deposit $25 and play $5, they'll give you 11 $5 bonus entries to start playing. So download the Sleeper app now and use promo code SCORE and get in on this promo before time runs out. What are you waiting for? Download Sleeper today and unlock one of the fastest growing fantasy sports apps in the world. Use code SCORE to claim the play $5, get $55 bonus entry offer. That's code SCORE. Disclaimer is going to be must at least 18 years old in most states and present in state where it is legal to wager. Promo code location and other restrictions apply. Minimum deposit $25. See terms used for details at sleeper.com. Please play responsibly. Call 1-800-426-2537 for help. Sponsored by Sleeper, a Blitz product.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. So the Heisman Trophy was handed out on Saturday evening, and the winner of the award was the two-way superstar in Travis Hunter from Colorado. He received 2,231 total points. Ashton Jeanty, he finished in second. He received 2,017 total points. Dylan Gabriel finished in third with 516 total points. And then you had Cam Ward finishing in fourth with 229 total points. Here's the crazy part. And as you guys have heard me say before, I'm a Heisman Trophy voter. And now, since the results are out there, we could have a candid conversation. Here was my ballot. Ashton Jeanty 1, Travis Hunter 2, Cam Ward 3. Now, I don't understand when I speak to my fellow voters, two things. Number one, why anyone would vote before conference championship weekend is over. Number two, I don't understand how anyone didn't put either. Not saying who needed to be 1 and who needed to be 2. Once again, I had Jeanty 1, Hunter 2. But I don't get how any voter didn't put either Travis Hunter or Ashton Jeanty in the first two spots. This award the last 3 weeks, once Cam Ward, right, wasn't going to go to an ACC championship game, once he lost that game to Syracuse, Cam Ward was basically eliminated from winning the award. Everyone besides Hunter and Jeanty was playing for third. So, you look at it, could someone that covers Oregon on a daily basis maybe put Dylan Gabriel 1 or 2, or Cam Ward, if you cover Miami on a daily basis, maybe 1, 2? Sure. But the fact that, and nothing against these guys, the fact that we had non-finalists receive first-place votes is alarming to me. Cam Skattebo, phenomenal player, 3 first-place votes. Bryson Daly, 3 first-place votes. Tyler Warren, 1 first-place vote. Shedeur Sanders, who maybe, right, you could argue that, and I have, that Shedor's more valuable than Travis Hunter, but Travis Hunter's the best player, and the award is the most outstanding player in college football. Curtis Rourke, 2 first-place votes. I don't understand, for most of those guys, how they ended up getting a first-place vote. And then second-place votes, Dylan Gabriel got 52, Cam Ward got 24, Cam Skattebo got 18, Bryson Daly 7, Tyler Warren 7, Shedeur Sanders 7, Curtis Rourke 3, and then Kyle McCord 1. So I would love to hear from a voter that didn't put both or either Jeanty or Hunter in the 1-2 spots. It just doesn't make sense. And I'm just one voter, but I think I share the sentiment of the majority of voters, the way that it obviously played out, with 552 first-place votes going to Travis Hunter, 309 also going to Ashton Jeanty, first-place votes, and then second-place votes, 517 going to Ashton Jeanty, and then 261 going to Travis Hunter. But I really, truly don't get people that didn't put Hunter or Jeanty 1-2. And if I couldn't believe that part, then I really couldn't get, because to take you behind the curtain here of how the trophy's voted on, you get 3 votes. You get a first-place vote, you get a second-place vote, and a third-place vote. Now, I've said before, maybe you should get 5 votes. Because is there a case that someone wants to just make sure that a guy like Cam Skattebo or Bryson Daly or Tyler Warren are finalists? So maybe they vote for them in their 3 spots, but they truly don't think they're deserving of a third-place vote, but you only get 3 votes, and someone else is going to vote for Dylan Gabriel or Cam Ward to be a finalist, so I'm going to not put Gabriel or Ward or Hunter, or Jeanty, and I'm going to end up putting that other guy in there. That happens, right? We've seen it before at the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, they get 10 votes per ballot, but we've seen guys say, I knew he was going to get in anyway. I only get 10 votes, so I'm going to vote for somebody else just to keep them on the ballot, right? That's just the way that it works. I think it's a stupid process, but that's the process. So if I'm sitting here saying, I really can't believe, if you're a voter, that you didn't put either, whoever your preference was, Hunter or Jeanty, 1-2, if it was Jeanty 1, Hunter 2, or vice versa, then I really don't understand when Deloitte hands out the packets as I'm sitting there in the press conference room waiting to see who won, and right when they say the winner of the Heisman Trophy is Travis Hunter, they hand out this packet, and I'm going through it, and I put out, right, immediately on a tweet, I put out how the voting breakdown did go down and play on out in terms of first, second, third, and fourth, and everyone that got votes. And then I'm flipping through, 10 pages or so or notes about this, and it said noteworthy facts about the 2024 vote. Travis Hunter, out of the top four, right, the four finalists, in terms of who was in a first, second, or third place, if out of those top four guys that were finalists, how many of them in percentage-wise received either a first, second, or third place vote? Travis Hunter was on 93.32% of the ballots. So there's about 7% of the people that didn't put Travis Hunter in a first, second, or third place vote. I don't understand how you watch college football and you don't do that. Now, Ashton Jeanty, who didn't win the award, he received 95.04% of votes. Like in terms of you either got on ballots just a first, second, or third place vote. So at least 5% of the people, right, around there, watched college football this year and said Ashton Jeanty isn't deserving of a first, second, or third place vote. So I'm really wanting to talk to someone that didn't vote Hunter or Jeanty 1 or 2, but I really, really, really want to talk to someone that left either Hunter or Jeanty off the ballot entirely and didn't vote them at least first, second, or third place. Because I want to know what college football you've been watching. So I voted for Jeanty for a few reasons. One, I thought he was the best player from start to finish in college football. 2, he played in a conference championship game, won a conference championship game, and 3, he's going into the college football playoff. You know, that all factored into it. That was the deciding factors when you looked at two elite talents in Jeanty and Hunter, why I ended up going Jeanty over Travis Hunter. But I thought it was going to be really close. When I walked into that room waiting to see how the award was going to be announced, I said, I believe, to many people that were there asking me, right, you do so quietly because you want to be respectful, but so many people have votes in that room. And I said, I believe that Ashton Jeanty should win the award, but I believe Travis Hunter is going to win the award. And I think it's going to be a lot closer than what people thought it was going to be. And it ended up being a lot closer than what people thought it was going to be. But for a little perspective, the 2023 winner, Jaden Daniels, was named on 90.46% of the ballots. Michael Penix Jr., who finished second last year, was named on 87.09% of the ballots. So I have a question off of that. Let's say if Travis Hunter didn't win the award, would Jeanty have still won the award? Right, based on the votes, you would say so. But were there people that were like, oh, he plays at a group of 5 school, and they don't actually watch it. They just see the stats. They're like, oh, who's he playing up against? They don't even realize he put up basically 200 yards up against Oregon with 3 touchdowns when they played Oregon, who's the number 1 team in the nation. So I think too many people have votes for the Heisman Trophy, quite frankly. I do. And I wonder how many of those people actually watch college football, because I don't know how you watch college football this year, and you don't have Jeanty in your top 3, 5% of you, and how 7% of you didn't have Travis Hunter in your top 3. I was able to catch up with Travis Hunter after he won the Heisman Trophy, and I was able to ask him this question about his relationship with Coach Prime and also Shedeur Sanders.
Travis, Zach Gelb, Infinity Sports Network, the emotion you displayed when you embraced Coach Prime and also Shedeur was very powerful. I know it's a family type of program at Colorado. Just how do you kind of put into words what you were feeling in that moment and what your relationship means, obviously, with Coach Prime and Shedeur?
It means a lot. You know, those are the people that, you know, changed my journey. You know, I don't think I would have went to Jackson State if it was any other coach, respectfully. But, you know, Shedeur gave me that phone call, me and him talking, you know, every day. You know, just trying to see. Yeah, I got to know him as a person first, most importantly, then on the football field. Because, you know, over the phone, when you first meet somebody, you don't know about them on the football field. You're just trying to talk to them, get to know them, you know, fill them out. And then being able to talk to Coach Prime right after and you know, doing exactly what he told me that I will do, it makes me proud of myself, but also I thank him so much for changing my life forever.
So pretty cool moment there from Travis Hunter talking about his relationship with Shedeur Sanders and also Coach Prime. And I thought it was cool to see the emotion that he displayed. Sometimes guys are robots when they win those awards. It felt like the speech, right? It wasn't prepared. He was just going, and he had some notes, but it was a pretty cool moment. And that's the other thing. I understand that there's passion involved in this. And just because you have passion about something doesn't mean that it needs to be rooted in hatred. And it goes both ways. Like, how many Colorado fans are attacking and trying to degrade and devalue what Ashton Jeanty has been doing? And the other way, people trying to devalue what Travis Hunter has done. Both are incredible players. We could respect both players. I personally thought Jeanty should have won the award, but it doesn't mean that now you got to try to tear down a player like Travis Hunter. Here's the very classy Ashton Jeanty on losing the Heisman Trophy. This was moments after he did find out that he was not able to win the award, and he finished in second.
Obviously, it wasn't the result I was hoping for, but, I kind of just had to take a moment, debrief, and just appreciate the fact that I was even here. The fact that I was here is going to be so inspiring to many. It's very hard, to reach this status, to be a finalist, as it is from any school, but from a Group of 5 school, it makes it that much more challenging. So I'm proud of being here today.
So there you go. That was Ashton Jeanty. He finished second in the Heisman Trophy. I know we opened up the show talking about the Lions and the Eagles, and we said that Dan Campbell, was going to have a press conference, and David Montgomery, he was out indefinitely. Well, Dan Campbell, according to Adam Schefter, said at that press conference, David Montgomery will undergo season-ending knee surgery. We're going to miss him, Campbell told reporters. So another blow, unfortunately, to the Lions roster, as they have just been decimated by injuries. And personally, I think the Eagles right now are the team to beat in the NFC. All righty, we'll take a timeout. When we come back, we'll update you on some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We'll get to a news brief next. Update time first. Here is El Capitan, Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, Zach, Lions 1-2 punch on the ground. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery has been a huge part of their prolific offense, totaling nearly 2,000 yards on the ground. However, Montgomery is now out for the rest of the year due to surgery on his MCL. Wasn't the only loss suffered against the Bills. Aleem McNeil also lost to a torn ACL. His season is done. Carlton Davis out indefinitely with a fractured jaw. High ankle sprain. That's reportedly the diagnosis for Patrick Mahomes. Reportedly not too bad. Unclear if he'll be able to go Saturday against the Texans. Vikings and Bears kick off doubleheader for Monday Night Football. Minnesota could tie Detroit atop the NFC North standings with a victory. Then it's the Falcons and Raiders. Atlanta trying to snap a 4-game skid. Raiders looking for just a third win, and they're expected to turn to a former Falcon and Desmond Ridder to do it. Antonio Pierce, though, not expecting him to overthink it.
It's the Raiders versus Atlanta Falcons, and he understands it. Listen, just do your job as a quarterback. We don't need you to be Superman and go out there and win it by yourself. It's a team sport. Understand what we're trying to do with the game plan. If it is, Desmond, but more importantly, don't make it an individual matchup, right? That's in your past. You moved on, got a great opportunity here. Worry about that.
49ers suspended Devondre Campbell for 3 games. Joel Embiid out indefinitely, sinus fracture. He'll be reevaluated in a week. I'm Marco Belletti.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
It's time to ask the pros. Where the listener gets asked us a question. Brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sports Center at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. Be listening later in the show when we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. All right, let's start things off with Jalen Hurts on the offensive outburst that the Eagles had up against the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday.
So that's what y'all wanted to see, huh?
John, you said you'll figure this out. Is that what we saw tonight?
We found a way to win the game.
And they found the way to win the game indeed. You know what, Stu? I don't think Jalen Hurts truly cares how they win the game. To him, it doesn't matter if he's throwing the ball 30-something times a game or if he's handing the football off 30 times a game. He is truly about, as he would say, the main thing is the main thing, and that's winning. And that would hopefully be what happened this week, is that A.J. Brown, right, who popped off, A.J. Brown realizes what Jalen Hurts' number one priority is, and A.J. Brown needs to understand he's the guy that's running the show. And even if Jalen Hurts may not be the Eagles' best player, there's going to be weeks where in order to win, it's going to be through Saquon. And then other weeks you'll get yours because they'll try to take away Saquon, and it's going to be through A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So I would hope that this week was the kumbaya week where they could yell at each other, say what you want, and then as long as you're winning, because that's all that Jalen Hurts cares about, well, AJ, you need to respect that. I made an effort to get to the ball more this week, but there's going to be some weeks where I don't want to say that you're a decoy, but you're not going to be getting as much because Saquon's also a heck of a player, and he's one of the MVP candidates in this league, and there's a chance to, and more than a good chance, that there's going to be some weeks where he's going to be getting the ball the majority of the times.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Hurts doesn't come off as a guy that cares, like you said. Like, I just think he can run the ball 30 times. He could throw it. Yeah, I don't think it really matters to him. A.J. Brown may be a little different. I guess we'll see how that plays out, but I don't think Hurts is that guy.
Here is A.J. Brown on the touchdown celebration that he had with Jalen Hurts.
Was that kind of a good way to show people like,
for sure. That was our moment to tell everybody to shut up.
So there you go. Tell everyone to shut up on something that we created. But hey, sometimes you have to create an enemy, even if you're the reason why that there was a problem. And if you want to use the media and the fans as the enemy to bring you guys together, even though you started the problem, we've seen it before in sports. It won't be the first time, and I can guarantee you it won't be the last time. Here is Tom Pelissero on the Rich Eisen Show. And by the way, the Rich Eisen Show is moving to the Infinity Sports Network, 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. We will then still be on the network from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, just to make that abundantly clear. And here is Tom Pelissero on Brock Purdy potentially getting a monster contract.
He's been a part of 4 playoff wins. I mean, the last 2 guys to reset the market were Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson, who have 4 playoff wins combined. And the situation is this. He's eligible for a contract extension starting at the end of the regular season. If a deal is going to get done, I would anticipate it is at the top of the quarterback market right now. That's Dak's number. That is $60 million per year. Are the 49ers willing to go to that? Or are they going to be in a situation where you could have a standoff with your starting quarterback into the offseason here? There's no reason really for Brock Purdy to take a sub-market deal.
Let me preface it by saying this. Sometimes good quarterbacks get great money. It doesn't mean that they're not deserving of it because the market is what the market is. But would I feel comfortable paying Brock Purdy $55 or $60 million a year? Do I think he is what you would think a $55 to $60 million a year quarterback is? No, I do not. But it doesn't matter if I think that or not. The 49ers don't want to see what life is like without Brock Purdy, which is a crazy statement to say. And he'll end up getting a lot of money, and he will become the face of the offense with all the injuries that the 49ers have suffered. And we will see if the 49ers are able to continue this Super Bowl window from being open after they retool it a little bit after this year. Do I think Brock Purdy is going to all of a sudden start looking like a quarterback that is going to win a Super Bowl? No, I do not. I think Brock Purdy is good. I don't think Brock Purdy is great. And there's a lot of quarterbacks right now that get paid great money that aren't quarterbacks that I expect will win a Super Bowl. Dak Prescott's one. Trevor Lawrence is another. Tua Tagovailoa is another as well, if you want me to just name a few. Let's go to Gerard Mayo. This was interesting. He throws offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt under the bus as the Patriots got stuffed on a 4th-and-1 run yesterday.
You consider running Drake in that situation? That it's a short yard situation. You know he can run.
You said it. I didn't.
Yikes! I hate to advocate for a coach to be one and done because Gerard Mayo doesn't have a lot of talent around him, but Gerard Mayo is starting to become his worst own enemy. It seems like each and every week, Gerard Mayo is saying something that's just stupid to the media. And Mike Vrabel is out there. I wanted Mike Vrabel last year when the job was open. So, yes, I would get rid of Gerard Mayo if it means that the Patriots end up getting Mike Vrabel, even though Gerard Mayo probably shouldn't be fired, because what did people really expect with how bad this roster is? I just hope they don't ruin Drake May, because Drake May's looking like a star with a garbage offensive line and wide receivers that have big egos but can't make big catches. All right, let's go to Ashton Jeanty. He finished in second in the Heisman Trophy voting. I voted him 1. I had Travis Hunter 2, and then Cam Ward 3. Ashton Jeanty, will losing the Heisman Trophy motivate him even more?
100%. 100%. Yeah, I think it does that. I mean, anytime you have something that, you felt you should have accomplished or, you should have been given, obviously everything is earned. But I just I really felt like I should have walked away with the award, but, kudos to Travis and, for winning. But, yeah, it's simple as that. Work harder, go harder. There's a lot more to come. This isn't, the end. This is just the beginning. So I just got to do that much more to get the things that I want.
Stu, I'm starting to see something. I have a vision. Penn State's going to beat SMU, and then Penn State is going to fall to Boise State as Ashton Jeanty has a monster day and basically is going to torment Hot Take Hickey forever. That's what I'm seeing right now, Stu. Let's go to Ryan Day. This is courtesy of WBNS TV on making the playoff despite losing to Michigan.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody wouldn't be anything other than fired up. Yeah, I mean, we're in a different era. It's a different time, and we're in the playoffs. Other teams aren't, and that's just the way it goes. Not that it's ever going to change the game. It's not going to, but we're in the playoffs, and that's all we know right now.
And let's hear Ross Bjork, the AD at Ohio State, on the Morning Juice on 97.1 The Fan in Columbus. Will Ryan Day be back next season?
Are you confident, or how confident are you that regardless of what happens in the CFP, when Ohio State kicks off on August 30th next year against Texas, Ryan Day's on the sideline?
Absolutely. Coach Day and I have just hit it off so well. I've been really, really impressed. Every single time I talk to him, I learn something. He's innovative. He recruits at the highest level. He's got a great staff. There's always tweaks. There was tweaks after last year, right? You're always going to tweak things. You're always going to make adjustments. You're always going to make improvements. The thing that this whole mentality about, and look, we live it and we sign up for it, but if you get fixated on the end result and not have the process fully baked every time, you're gonna lose. The mindset's gonna lose because you're only fixated on one thing. And so what we have to do is this whole championship or bust sort of mentality. You want that as a goal, but it has to be about the process.
So yes, if I was an Ohio State fan, even if it meant you had to lose to Michigan but you won a national championship, I would sign up for that. Some Ohio State fans don't think that's the case. But here's why I laugh at Ryan Day and Ross Bjork trying to devalue the game. It's because of how much emphasis they put on the game, thinking they would just be able to blow out Michigan this year because Michigan had Jim Harbaugh leave and they were having a down season. That's the problem. You can't one week say it's the biggest thing in the world and then you lose, oh, it's not a big deal. Like Ryan Day was saying, outside of his father, right, losing his father, that this is one of the darkest moments that he's ever had the last 3 years losing to Michigan. So you can't go from that to, oh, well, at least we're still playing Michigan, isn't even though Michigan won a national championship this year. And Ross Bjork basically saying, devalue the game. Because I don't think Ohio State fans want to devalue the game. They want to win the game and also win a national championship.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, hour number 2 of our radio program. That's right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Some college football news. Wake Forest's head coach, Dave Clawson, has been there for a long time. He is stepping down. That is what ESPN is currently reporting. I just saw it from our friends on 3 during the break. You know, Wake Forest is one of those jobs where I'll be really curious what their next move is. Because we talked about this last week. When you look at schools like Colorado, who when Coach Prime got there, they're in the Pac-12, but they are, right, a medium-sized fish in a large pond. You saw that UNC, right? They're in the ACC. In terms of football, they're a medium-sized fish in a really large pond. You look at Wake Forest, they are a medium-sized, right, fish in a really large pond, and they're serving in the ACC. That's the conference that they play in. Now, I'm just reading this article as it's coming on out, so I want to make sure that they have not named a head coach already, and they haven't. The coaching search will now be underway as the ACC will see more changes to one of its programs. North Carolina recently shifted from Mac Brown to Bill Belichick, creating a lot of buzz for the Tar Heels. There were no immediate reports for Wake Forest, and it's unclear if Clawson will be heavily involved in finding his replacement. Now, there is a report that Clawson, who we know is stepping down, he's expected to remain with the university in an advisory role, and the decision to step down was his. So whenever you see something like that, you wonder how truthful it is. Because remember when Pete Carroll, right, was no longer going to be the Seahawks head coach? He was going to be in a front office role, and it was a mutual decision. Pete Carroll didn't want to step down as the Seahawks head coach. That was just a nice way of them saying, oh, we didn't fire you, Pete, even though they did fire him. And did anyone hear a peep from Pete Carroll this year? You know, I said this last week, I'll say it again. It's kind of crazy that we hear all these names getting mentioned. I know Belichick just landed at UNC. Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, no one's even talking about Pete Carroll, whether it's for college or whether it's for the NFL. So you've seen Clawson be the head coach there since 2014. This past year was his final season as the head coach. And that's a job that, if I'm Wake Forest, here would be my free advice to you. You know, my unsolicited free advice. I would go get a big splashy name. Because, yes, you could go hire a really young, up-and-coming coach who's a really good coordinator, but the name of the game right now is name, image, and likeness. And unless that young coordinator is coming with boosters and is coming with donors and knows a lot of rich people that are friends with him, the odds of Wake Forest ever really making a dent or an impact into the new structure of college football is extremely slim. Very slim. So I don't know who the name is out there, but the experience doesn't really matter anymore. If you've coached in college or not, doesn't really matter anymore. If you coach at the highest level in college football, it doesn't really matter anymore. It's, do you have the name recognition and do you come with a lot of cash? Because that's what ultimately will win in college football. And yes, you got to hire the right staff. Yes, you still got to recruit. Yes, you still got to be able to coach and adjust, right? X's and O's and all that stuff. But a school like Wake Forest, they're a fine program. But if they want to win in an ACC that, like, yeah, it's Clemson's, right? But it's not as Clemson as this team from a few years ago where you look at them and you say, oh, they're a national championship winning program. And I know the last 2 years it hasn't worked out well for Wake Forest. They've been 4-8, 4-8. But before that, they were 8-5 and 11-3 in 2022 and 2021. If you want to see more 8-5 seasons, 11-3 seasons, where maybe there's a year or two you can get into the ACC championship game, then if you're in it, hey, you could obviously win it, then I would go make a big splashy hire. And this cycle's been really fascinating. Because if you go back to September, October, when it was apparent that we all thought that Billy Napier wasn't going to be back at Florida, the only name, and I know Billy Napier is staying at Florida, the only name that's really floated out there that really excited people was Lane Kiffin. And at the time, it was like, oh, we don't even know if Lane would be interested because it felt like it was a lateral move, maybe at best going from Ole Miss to Florida. And I kept on asking people, if it's not Lane Kiffin, then who does Florida turn to? And it was a lot of humming. Now, there's a lot of good coaches out there. But for a lot of these other jobs, you know, even UNC, who are the two names that you heard of? John Summerall, who elected to stay at Tulane, and then out of nowhere came Belichick. And if it wasn't Belichick, I read somewhere that it was going to be Tommy Rees. You know, no offense to Tommy Rees. I know he's been around the college game and just recently in the NFL. How many other schools are dying for the services of Tommy Rees to be the head coach? So I don't think the talent pool is as great in terms of excitement in this new era of college football, where a lot of these schools should probably follow the model that Colorado has set in place and UNC has followed, where, yes, you could justify hiring Bill Belichick with no college experience because he's Bill bleeping Belichick. And you know they're going to have a ton of former great pros at that program, whether they're on the staff or not, but they'll be around the program. They'll be at spring ball. And if Bill needs one of his former players to help him in recruiting for a little bit and call some kid that looked up to him, you know, I'm sure that player would do that out of respect to Belichick. But Bill's also going to come with a lot of money. And he's going to get a big investment from UNC because you could believe in someone like Bill Belichick. You could believe in someone like Coach Prime. So a school like Wake Forest, hey, you could go hire a guy that is a head coach at another school, right? You go hire an up-and-coming coordinator, And that could end up working. You could be having a lot of success. But if they were smart, and I think it's low risk, high reward, for example, if Wake Forest hires a big name coach, they hire a former athlete that's very popular, right? A guy that played in the NFL for a bunch of years, and this is his first head coaching opportunity. If it doesn't work out and they continue to be a 4-win program, or even if they drop off and go to a 3 or 2-win program, what did you really lose? We're talking about a program in the last 2 years. They have a combined 8 wins. 4 in 2023, 4 in 2024. So I don't know. I'll just throw a name out there. And I don't know if Ray Lewis was ever involved in FIU or FAU, right? It was floated out there. If, let's just say, and I'm just throwing this name out there. Let's say if Wake Forest hired Ray Lewis, and let's say Ray Lewis is a mitigated disaster, and then they have to get rid of him in 2 years. Is there that big of a difference? Did you really lose anything from going from a 4-win program to a 2-win program? But what happens if Ray Lewis comes in and, right, kids are enamored by Ray Lewis? I can't believe I'm playing for and getting coached by Ray Lewis. And Ray Lewis comes with a lot of money. And that's just me throwing out a name there. And then all of a sudden Wake Forest is a bowl eligible team, or they're a 7-8 win team. It just creates more excitement around the program. So I don't know how sustainable that is in the long haul, but it worked with Deion. And I know Deion was coaching at Jackson State, and he was deserving of a bigger opportunity. And I said Auburn should have hired him in the SEC. I said that numerous times. I remember when I was working with Hickey thought I was crazy for saying Coach Prime should be the next head football coach at Auburn. Now, Auburn hired a well-respected coach in Hugh Freeze, right? They hired Hugh Freeze, oh, that's a solid hire. Have we really talked about Auburn much this year? No. Now, imagine they had Coach Prime. You'd at least be relevant. We'd at least be talking about you a lot more. And that's freaking Auburn in the SEC. I'm talking about UNC, Colorado, and now Wake Forest. So I could see this going either one of two ways. Wake Forest is afraid to take that risk, or Wake Forest is no, this is a copycat sport. We just saw what Coach Prime did, and you may say, oh, that's in the Big 12 or the Pac-12 at the time. Who cares? And now you just see it happen in your own conference with Bill Belichick. So I would get creative there if I'm Wake Forest. And I don't think you need to make your typical hire at how college has been hiring for the last decade. I would not be afraid to swing for a big, bold name, whoever that may be. So Dave Clawson, he is stepping down as the head football coach of Wake Forest. Let me get to the AFC. So Kansas City is now dealing with another Patrick Mahomes injury. So he's week to week. I don't know about you, Stu. Whenever Patrick Mahomes gets hurt, it always looks worse than what it is. I remember a few years ago, I think it was against the Broncos on Thursday Night Football. It looked like he was done for the season. He maybe missed at most 2 weeks, I think it was. Ankle injuries that he suffered in the postseason, it looks like he's donezo. Even this year, there was a game. I forget which game it was, but I remember I was watching it. He got hurt. You thought he was done. He was limping off the field. He was in pain. He didn't even miss a drive. He was out there in the next series. So Mahomes has now been diagnosed with a mild high ankle sprain following tests, and he's still considered week to week. Tests confirmed initial thoughts. The schedule is tough for the Saturday game, and then a quick turnaround for Christmas. So the Buffalo Bills are currently sitting with 3 losses, even though they came off a monster victory yesterday up against the Detroit Lions. The Kansas City Chiefs are somehow only sitting there with 1 loss, with all these close games that they've played. If I'm Kansas City, and because you've won all these games, you know what the end goal is. No one's going to care if you got 3 games left in the season. No one's going to care if you lose this game to the Texans on Saturday. I would give Mahomes the week off. I don't see how Kansas City in their right mind would play Patrick Mahomes up against the Houston Texans on Saturday. And if you win that game, great, which you can. Carson Wentz, I know I've not been so kind to him. Let's just say that in the polite way. Can Carson Wentz, at home, at Arrowhead, with the team that the Chiefs have, can he beat the Houston Texans? I think so. Right? Because you trust the coaching of Kansas City, and Kansas City has a good roster. And C.J. Stroud, as much as I like him, he hasn't showed up in big games this year. So why can't the Kansas City defense keep this thing close. And if Carson Wentz gets to 17 points, you got a chance to win that game like 17-14, 17-13. But even if you lose that game, and I know that you lost to Buffalo early in this year, so if you finish with the same record, and Buffalo's not going to lose the game the rest of the way, I think Buffalo, they have the Patriots twice, and then sandwich in between, I believe, are the Jets. That's a schedule. So Buffalo, as long as they try, as long as Buffalo cares, they're not losing another game in the regular season. So even if you are Kansas City and you lose this game to the Texans, then you just can't afford to lose a game the rest of the way between Pittsburgh and Denver. And even if you don't get the number one seed, we just saw you last year not get the number one seed. You started the playoffs up against the Miami Dolphins. You didn't even have a bye, and you still got to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl. So I would operate on the side of caution here, where I'm not playing Mahomes until I have to, because for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, their offense hasn't been pretty this year either way. But come playoff time, there's always that fear of Mahomes. Teams basically urinate down their leg just when they see Mahomes, and they find a way to win games that they should never, ever win. And you know that this entire season, right, Kansas City's won pretty much because of their defense. So even though you don't want to go a long stretch without Mahomes, I don't think this is the case. I don't see what's the gain, Stu, in playing him Saturday up against the Houston Texans if, he's not close to 100%.
And I agree with you. I mean, like you said, it could cost them a home game in the playoffs if they lose a game or two, but I guess just a game. But I think they could go into Buffalo with a healthy Mahomes and a healthy team and beat the Bills. I don't think the Bills can go into Arrowhead in a playoff game and beat the Chiefs. I'd feel less confident about that.
Now, they've done in the regular season.
Yeah.
I know this year they didn't play the game was in Buffalo, but they've done it before. I know you said playoffs, so that's different. You don't think Josh Allen this year, with the way that offense is humming?
I'd still bet on the Chiefs.
The only concerns I have about Buffalo, and it's two big concerns, it's the defense and it's the coach. It's the coach, and the coach is good, but the coach has a boneheaded decision, it seems like, in every big game. And defensively, the last 2 weeks, this Bills defense, which earlier on the season was looking like, hey, they were doing much better than what people expected. And Josh Allen had 6 touchdowns last week, and it wasn't good enough. And like up against the Lions, I know that Buffalo's offense was spectacular. I think at one point it was like 35-14 or something yesterday. But that defense allowed the Lions at least like back in the game. So my really only concern, Stu, about the Bills is the defense and the coach. But in this year, is there any team that you feel like you're really confident in? Is there a team where you go, there's not a flaw with that team, a major flaw heading into the postseason, in your opinion?
No. I mean, the Chiefs, their offense has been shaky a lot. The Lions have all these injuries now.
Dan
Eagles,
Campbell
the coach,
also, what the heck are we doing with that onside kick yesterday?
I still don't trust Sirianni in a big spot for the Eagles. So you're right. Every team does have flaws.
Yeah, and
sure.
A.J. Brown, even though they won yesterday, he's one game away from not getting the ball enough, and he could be a malcontent in the locker room. So is there another team? I'll also ask you this. Outside of the Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles, and the Lions, is there another team that you could actually see playing in the Super Bowl? I'll start you off with the AFC.
Probably just the Ravens. I know they're 9-5, but just that idea of having a Lamar and Henry 1-2 punch in the playoffs, assuming Lamar shows up in the playoffs, I would still put them close to the Chiefs and Bills.
Defense is rough, though.
The defense is rough.
Yeah.
That's probably the only team I can even see.
Yeah, right now, and I was optimistic before the season on the Ravens. I can't see the Ravens get into the Super Bowl. Now, in the NFC, can you see anyone else getting into the fold?
I don't think so. Before the season, I would have said the Packers. They've kind of not been the most impressive, although they were
good win last night.
Pretty good last night. And the Rams, I just don't see it. I don't think there's a team in the NFC. And I know the Vikings, we overlooked them. Not we, but
yeah, you.
I overlooked them a lot, but I just don't think they're on the same level as the Lions and the Eagles.
Brian Flores in that defense is phenomenal. Sam Darnold, he's not going to win the MVP, but he's playing like an MVP, and they got a bevy of weapons on offense. My favorite player in the league, Justin Jefferson, and many others. But I just look at the Vikings. It's, can I see Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl? And I can't. I just can't. It's just something. I'm trying to envision Sam Darnold. Here come the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota. Here comes Sam Darnold. It just, something goes off in my brain and my body that's like, I don't see it. And they're a heck of a football team. You know, you look at the coaching staff, that could be one of the top coaching staffs in the league with O'Connell and Flores. It is a phenomenal, and I mean, you have two head coaches on that team. But that's where I struggle. It's the Sam Darnold part. So I've asked you a lot in this segment, Stu. I will now try to push you into a corner here and try to get an answer out of you. In the NFC, who do you trust more, Eagles or Lions?
Right now, Eagles.
Because they're healthier?
Yes, that's the biggest key for me.
I think they slightly have the better offense. And defensively, that's the biggest difference. The Eagles' defense is playing very, very, very good. And it's flying under the radar. And in the AFC, I know that you said if the game is in Arrowhead, you think that the Chiefs would win. You think Buffalo would have to have home field advantage. Who do you think, though, is the better team right now between the Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs?
Right now, I'll say the Bills. That one's closer for me, though.
So I think it's the Bills, and here's why. And the Chiefs' defense, right? That defense shows up in big moments. But Josh Allen this year is just at a different level. Remember that dopey poll from ESPN, that survey? Oh, he's the most overrated player in the league. He's sticking it up your you-know-what this year with that statement. He's giving you the middle finger. He's going nuts. He's going wild. He's going bonkers. Now, ultimately, it only matters if he gets it done in the postseason, but he's going to win the MVP. And if we drafted all these quarterbacks, Mahomes would go one. Like, if we had a draft tomorrow of every quarterback in the league, Mahomes would go one. I don't see right now how you wouldn't take Josh Allen, too. And so much for him being overrated. I don't know who's dumber. Heisman Trophy voters who didn't put Ashton Jeanty or Travis Hunter either 1, 2, or 3 on their ballot and left them off? Or the dopes, the imbeciles. I usually don't use the word imbecile, but you really are an imbecile if you think Josh Allen is overrated. Like, you're dumb, then you're really dumb, and then you're a bleeping moron on the Zach Gelb scale, and then you're an imbecile. Like, if I call you an imbecile, you're the dumbest person in the world, or one of the dumbest people in the world. And whoever said that Josh Allen was overrated, imbecile. Seriously, imbecile. But I would agree with you, Stu, that right now I would give the edge to the Bills because the Chiefs, they are a great team. But even though they only have one loss, which is still crazy to say, they haven't played like a great team yet. And all these teams have flaws and warts this year. And I'm not saying that the Chiefs can't get to 28, but if you get to 28, I don't feel confident, and the Bills basically get to 28 like it's nothing. I don't feel confident that the Chiefs are going to be able to get there right now. You look at the Chiefs this entire season, 27 points, 26 points per game, 22, 17, 26, 28, 27, 30 in overtime, 16, 21, 30, 19, 19, 21. Yeah, some games they get past 28, but there's a lot more games that they don't. It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. So, who do you believe in more, Eagles or Lions right now? I would say it's Eagles. Who do you believe in more, Chiefs or Bills? Right now, I would say it's the Bills. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. We'll take a break. When we come on back, the Steelers are pretenders. I asked Russell Wilson yesterday, are they just a good team, though, in his mind, or can they have the potential of being a great team this year? I'll play you that answer from my conversation with Russell Wilson next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
So I think a lot of us went into this season talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we said if everything did go right, maybe they could win a playoff game this year. But I thought there was a legitimate conversation because of the uncertainty at the quarterback position, not knowing what Russ was going to be, and not knowing what Justin Fields could be, that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to miss out on the playoffs this year. Because Najee Harris, right, they declined his fifth-year option. Jalen Warren's a fine back. The offensive line, I know they made some changes, but it's still not a great offensive line. And the wide receivers, George Pickens is really damn good, but his focus and his ability to just lock in and eliminate distractions is at an all-time low. And I know he didn't play the other day and he's been out for a little bit. But it's not like the Steelers, right, have a bad team. You look at their roster, you like Pat Freiermuth. TJ Watt is just a stud. That play he made yesterday and the motor that he had and the way that he was able to punch that football out from Jalen Hurts was just spectacular. Highsmith's a really good player. Cam Hayward's been around for a long time. So the Steelers have a respectable roster. But the Steelers' problem is they've been stuck ever since, like 2016? In that their teams are really good. Their records are really good. Right? You look at them and you say, wow, the Steelers are overachieving. But then come playoff time, they haven't won a playoff game since the 2016 season. So even though I was down on the Steelers this year, and I sit here as we enter the final 3 games of the regular season for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're sitting there at 10-4. Well, yeah, the Steelers have overachieved this year. But do I look at the Steelers and do I call them a Super Bowl contender? Absolutely not. Even in a year when you look at the NFL, there's probably only 4 Super Bowl contenders right now. We just talked about it. It's the Eagles, it's the Lions, it's the Chiefs, and it's the Bills. So it's not like there's a year where there's an incredible amount of teams and, right, you're playing on Wild Card Weekend and you lose just because the AFC was so stacked. You know, who really intimidates you in the AFC? Outside of Buffalo and the Chiefs, and even those teams have warts, no one else. You know, the Ravens, they can't win a big game in the postseason. You know, are the Denver Broncos or the Los Angeles Chargers scaring anybody? No, stop. You know, the Houston Texans scaring you? No. So even when this is a year where it's open and it's set up for a team to get hot and go on a run and be dangerous that you weren't really thinking of, I still look at the Steelers, and yesterday it just shows you why this team is a pretender. And they're not a contender. This was the best opponent they played all season. And I know what Steeler fans are going to tell me. Oh, but we didn't have George Pickens. Well, there are games where you don't have your best players and you got to fight through adversity. Heck, the Eagles won a Super Bowl after losing their MVP quarterback in Carson Wentz, for crying out loud. Right? There are moments where the Patriots won a Super Bowl one year when Rob Gronkowski was out. There are years you win, or there are years you get to the Super Bowl when you're missing a big player or two. It just happens. That's the name of the game. It's the nature of the sport. But yesterday, they're going up against Philadelphia. Even after they had some things go their way, they weren't able to ever capitalize. And you're sitting there and it's a 17-3 game, and you're thinking it's over. Now, to their credit, they got back in it. But when they needed a drive and they're driving, they're down by 7. And I know fans are going to say, oh, well, what would have happened if Najee Harris didn't fumble the football? But he did. But even if he did, and I'll play your game, even if Najee Harris didn't fumble the football and they get a touchdown and they tie up the game at 20-20, why should I believe the Steelers, are incapable of winning a big game and beating one of the elite teams in the league, are going to be able to find a way to get another touchdown and keep the Eagles out of the end zone? Like, I think the Eagles kind of, once it was 17-3 and you got off to that hot start and A.J. Brown's in the end zone, they kind of took their foot off the gas. So yesterday is just a reminder that the Steelers got a lot of work to do. But you look at the Steelers' wins this year. They beat the Falcons, they beat the Broncos, they beat the Chargers. Heck, 2 out of those 3 teams probably going to be playoff teams. But in the beginning of the year when you played the Falcons, the Broncos, and the Chargers, were you singing any of those teams' praises? Not really. You beat the Raiders, you beat the lousy Jets, you beat the lousy Giants. All right, you beat the Commanders. That was a good victory. But it's not like the Commanders are a great team. They're just a wild card team. You beat the Ravens. That was solid. But the Ravens have had flaws this year. And you beat the Bengals and the Browns. They stink. So yesterday was the best opponent that you had, and you lost 27-13. Now, these next 3 weeks and how the regular season ends for the Steelers, they're in the playoffs. They clinched a playoff berth yesterday. So you know that you're going to the dance, but are you going into the dance feeling good about yourself? Or are you going into the dance saying, man, I'm going to the prom. I don't really like the girl that I'm with. I want to go and dance with another girl, but she's dating the varsity quarterback of the football team, and I got no shot. Or are you going to walk into that dance feeling confident that you go steal someone's girl? Well, we'll know that a lot about the Pittsburgh Steelers because, yes, even though yesterday was a low moment for them, they play the Ravens and the Chiefs. And I know the Bengals are a down year, but it's still the Bengals, right, with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. But that team will probably already they probably already set up their trips to Cabo and their tea times that they're going to be having. So that could just be a get-out kind of game for the Bengals. But these next 2 weeks are massive for the Steelers. At Baltimore and then Kansas City. Because neither of those games are going to make me say, no, maybe Kansas City would if Mahomes plays. Yeah, Kansas City would if Mahomes plays. But if you want to kind of craft the argument that I should be bought in on the Steelers, just beating the Ravens isn't enough. And I know they already beat the Ravens because the Ravens, I don't think, are going to Super Bowl. Their defense stinks. And I love Lamar Jackson as a quarterback, but he has to fight those allegations of not winning big games. But if you could beat Kansas City, that's different because Kansas City's won the last 2 Super Bowls. But we'll even see if Mahomes is going to play in that game. But you look at the Steelers, really good defense. We'll see what happens with Watt. He has a low ankle injury, as Mike Tomlin said. But then on offense, when is Pickens coming back? Fryermuth's a good player. Najee Harris, hold on to the football. The offensive line still needs work. And they got beat up in the trenches in the first half. And Russ is fine. Russ is better than what we thought. But is Russ going on a run in the postseason where he's winning 1, 2, 3 games to get to the Super Bowl? I don't think so. So it does feel like the Steelers all throughout the year, even when, right, people were saying, put him in a Super Bowl contending conversation, right? I think it was Dan Orlovsky who said he wouldn't do it. And Steelers fans lost their mind, absolutely lost their mind, and attacked the personal friend of mine, Dan Orlovsky, right? Dan could have some questionable takes, but I don't think he had any questionable takes about the Steelers. So I walked into the press conference yesterday with Russell Wilson, and that's what I was curious. Like, you lost this game. This was a statement game for the Steelers where you could say, hey, we're one of the great teams. We're one of the contending teams in the NFL because we beat another Super Bowl caliber team and a team that's contending for the Super Bowl. So I talked to Russell Wilson about that on what do you kind of say to people, right, that are just going to say you guys are good. Like, can you guys be a great team? Here was the question and answer with Russell Wilson.
Russ, it seems like there's always debate with the Steelers. Are you guys just a good team or a great team? You could argue the Eagles are the best team you guys played this year. Just how far away do you think you guys are to making that statement that you guys are a great team?
Yeah, I think, we have to be able to, we'll have to determine how great we can be. There's a lot more football left. And I think we have the right guys. I think that the biggest thing is that I think any great team has to respond. You're going to have adversity. You're going to have ups and downs throughout the season. I've been on great teams before. Sometimes you don't win them all. And I thought the biggest thing is that for us, when the game's in striking distance, we gotta tie it up. We got to make the plays. We got to find a way. And unfortunately, we didn't do that tonight. We've done that all year though. That's been a good thing for us. So we can't flinch. We got to get better. And we got to be cleaner. For this week, obviously going on the road.
So that's a mature, respectable answer. I'm not expecting him when I ask that question to say, yeah, we stink. Yeah, we're clearly not a great team. He's talking about we got to go prove it. And he made it very clear there, even though he didn't mention Najee Harris. Najee Harris, you can't fumble the football in that spot when you're going to try to tie the game. You just can't do it. And Najee Harris just dropped the football on that play. Unacceptable. But that's what teams do that are just stuck on being good, and they're not great. They make those mistakes when they're going up against another great team, which the Philadelphia Eagles are. The Eagles are a great team in the NFL this year. So that's a moment for the Steelers where he says, we have the guys right in the locker room to be great. Do you really? Because that's been the biggest problem with the Steelers. Whenever their defense is great, their offense isn't. Whenever their offense is great, their defense isn't. And that's been the way for the last decade, last 10 years. Even go back to when Big Ben was there. When they had Big Ben, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell, the defense stunk. Then we've seen the defense be really damn good, and your quarterbacks were like Duck Hodges, Mason Rudolph, and Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett. All right? They still haven't been able to get the offense up to speed, and I don't think they have enough intimidating names. And who's the most intimidating name on that offense? Probably George Pickens. But I don't trust George Pickens up here to keep it together for the entirety of the season. I don't. I know he was in the game yesterday. So the Steelers are a team, they're going to look better than what they appear to be. Right? They'll have a very good record going into the playoffs. But can I sit here fully confident and say, oh, they're definitely winning a playoff game this year? No. But even if they do win a playoff game, I think that's their ceiling. And heck, that would be progress because they haven't won a playoff game since 2016. But can I expect anything more out of one playoff game this year for the Steelers? Like, if you're going to call me up and say, oh, the Steelers are going to be going to a conference championship game, based off what? Because when they go up against the other great teams, in that biggest game of the season, the Eagles, it wasn't good enough. And it clearly wasn't good enough. All right, we'll take a timeout. I got some questions to answer when we return. Stu's got some questions to ask me, so I'll answer them. Onside, offside. Five questions or so. I'll try to give you 5 answers or so. We do this segment every Monday or Friday. We'll get to it on the other side. Update time first. Here's El Capitan, Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Nasdaq Lions with a major loss to their high-powered offense. David Montgomery done for the rest of the year. Surgery for an injured MCL. 775 yards rushing. Second on the team to Jahmyr Gibbs, who has over 1,000 yards on the ground this year. Chiefs seem to be breathing a sigh of relief. Patrick Mahomes reportedly dealing with a high ankle sprain. Unclear the severity. He'll be reevaluated later in the week to see if he can play Saturday against the Texans. Pair of Monday Night Football games. Vikings host the Bears. Minnesota trying to climb into a tie atop the NFC North with Detroit, with Sam Darnold looking to continue his reemergence this season.
I think the biggest thing for me is just continuing to make good decisions. And being able to, when I do let the ball rip, let it rip with confidence.
Later game features the Falcons and Raiders. Atlanta trying to put to end to their 4-game losing streak, also in danger of falling 2 games behind the Bucs in the NFC South. 49ers have suspended Devondre Campbell for the remaining 3 games on the season after he refused to enter their game against the Rams in the second half. Joel Embiid out indefinitely, that with a sinus fracture. He'll be reevaluated in a week. And from college football, Penn State quarterback Drew Aller set to return for his senior season. I'm Marco Belletti.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, it's onside offside time with your boy, Zach Gelb. Stu got some questions for me. I'll give you some answers. You know the dealio. Let's do it.
All right, well, the Packers, they beat the Seahawks handily last night, improving to 10-4 on the year after their dominating 30-13 performance. Jordan Love threw for 229 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Josh Jacobs scored his 8th touchdown in the last 4 games. But Seattle did lose Geno Smith in the second half due to an injury. Onsides, offsides, the Packers win was the biggest statement win of the weekend.
It's a pretty big one, but I don't think it's the biggest. I think 2 top it. The Buccaneers just slamming the Chargers. I thought that was going to be a close game, 23-20, something like that. The Bucs could really pull away in this NFC South. You know, they're now 8-6. I know they lost twice to the Atlanta Falcons, but if the Falcons lose tonight to the Raiders, which I don't see happening, then their season's really donezo and over with if they fall to 6-8. So I thought the Bucs smashing the Chargers was a bigger statement, 40-17. And then obviously, I would say the Bills beating up on the Lions. And I know that game finishes 48-42, but it was worse than that for most of the game. That was a, hey, we're Buffalo. Yes, we just lost to the Rams last week, but we're still really damn good and we could win a Super Bowl this year. And I would even argue maybe even Philadelphia could be in that conversation because they would have lost that game. The sky would have been falling today. Oh, the whole team hates each other. And look at the way that they were able to win through the air as well. I thought that was big up against the Steelers. So not to devalue the Packers went up against the Seahawks because the Packers are a really damn good team. And Seattle, right, that division's either going to be them or it's going to be the Rams. I think the Rams will win it. I still look at that game, good statement, but not as big of a statement, you could argue, as what the Bucs did to the Chargers, what the Bills did to the Lions, or even the Eagles up against the Steelers. I still think you look at the Packers, you say they're good, but they beat another team that's solid. Packers are better than the Seahawks. Just, we know that the Packers are good, but can they be great? That's not a win that makes me think, okay, that's a statement that they could be great. So the Packers win was the biggest statement win of the weekend. Offside.
Offsides.
Now the Browns, they fell to 3-11 after yesterday's 21-7 loss to the Chiefs as Jameis threw 3 interceptions. However, despite the disappointing season and the awful play of Deshaun Watson, CBS's Jonathan Jones reports that Watson along with reigning NFL Coach of the Year Kevin Stefanski and GM Andrew Berry, are all expected to return to the team in 2025. So onsides, offsides, it's the right move to bring all three back.
Offside, and it's easy. I have no problem with Andrew Berry being there. I got no problem with Kevin Stefanski being there. I got a big, and I mean a big problem with Deshaun Watson coming back. He's just not that dude anymore. He's just not that guy. And you're paying him either way, so rip the Band-Aid off and don't have him be your starting quarterback. Don't have him be your guy for next season. And go draft the quarterback with the early pick that you're going to have, or go trade or sign for a quarterback. Because it is not the right move to bring Deshaun Watson back, because he has not been a good quarterback since the 2020 season. He's done. He's cooked. You're already paying him. Move on. So onside, offside, it's right to bring all three back. That's offside because Deshaun Watson's part of that three.
Offside.
After 49ers linebacker Devondre Campbell refused to enter the game and then left the field before it was over in their loss to the Rams on Thursday, teammates and head coach Kyle Shanahan made it clear that Campbell was done in San Fran. However, today the team announced that they were suspending Campbell for the final 3 games of the season rather than cutting him, preventing Campbell from joining another team and allowing the team to recoup some of the remaining salary. So onsides, offsides, the 49ers suspending Campbell rather than cutting him is a petty move by the team.
Yeah, it's petty, but I'm all for it. I'm serious. You want to be a jackass and you don't want to go in? Oh, I don't want to play. So you just expect the team to release you? I thought on Friday he was already cut. We talked about it on the air. That was the reporting, that he was as good as gone. And right, they even said it, that he's out. But I like that. Nah, you know what? We're going to say that you cut. And then we're going to say, we don't want you to go land on some other team where then you get granted a spot in the postseason because the Niners aren't going to the postseason this year. And then you just get to walk in and go quit on that team as well. No, you quit on us. We're going to say, bleep you. We're going to suspend you. We're not going to pay you. And then you're going to sit at home for the postseason because if you didn't want to play for us, why would we let you go play somewhere else? That's a good job by the 49ers. And I don't care what the player union says. I don't care what people say. Oh, the 49ers, rotten organization. No. Devondre Campbell did a rotten thing. That's the worst thing you could do as a player, is when the team tells you to go in and he wasn't legitimately hurt, no matter how he spins it or whatever he says right now. And he goes, nah, I just don't feel like playing because your feelings were hurt. So I have that's petty. And I love how petty the San Francisco 49ers are. You know what? It's the best thing the 49ers have done this season, if I'm being honest. So the 49ers suspending Campbell rather than cutting him is a petty move by the team on sides, but it's a petty move that Zach Gelb endorses.
The Cowboys, they are expected to make any changes this offseason after a disappointing year. And Ian Rappaport reports that the team hasn't ruled out trading star Micah Parsons. After yesterday's win over the Panthers, Parsons responded to the report.
Nah, I understand how that business side goes. Listen, no hard feelings in this business. Whether I'm here or anywhere else, obviously I stayed how I wanted to be here. But, at the end of the day, I understand the business side. And, I put in a lot of work. I play hard, too. So, obviously, if sides can't, agree to those type of things, that happens like that. But, I'm just happy to be here. And I'm going to just keep playing hard while I'm here. And if I'm here for the next 5-6 years, I'm going to keep playing hard then, too. So, it ain't really nothing going to make a difference. Mike is going to play hard.
So, onsides, offsides, the Cowboys should trade Parsons and try to rebuild.
Should they? Not will they. Should they? Yes, on sides. You're going nowhere. This roster stinks and you get a king's ransom for Micah Parsons. Will they? They absolutely will not. But I could see why you should say that they should, because this roster has a lot of holes and you could get a lot of capital back for a player like Micah Parsons, who, don't get me wrong, is a great player. But you have a great player right now and you don't want to let him go. And he goes somewhere else and you go win a Super Bowl with them or be in line for that. Like, look at the Eagles, or like what happened with Saquon going to the Eagles. The Giants could have paid him. The Giants knew he was a great player, but they need to move on from him. The problem was they moved on from him when he was a free agent, right? If they could have got some pieces back for him, that's different. Micah Parsons, it's going to pain you to see him go somewhere else, and he's going to be really damn good, but he's really damn good right now, and you can't even make the postseason. So I have no problem. They want to go get it back a lot for Micah Parsons. So I would say on sides that they should trade Micah Parsons and try to rebuild.
Travis Hunter won the Heisman Trophy this weekend in one of the closest votes in years, edging out Boise State star Ashton Jeanty. Yesterday, Jay Glazer gave an interesting report about what position NFL teams want the two-way star Hunter to play.
I actually spent the morning reaching out to 13 different GMs and head coaches. I asked exactly that question, and it was overwhelming cornerback. Now, look, the one GM who said I would put him at wide receiver, the reason why? Elite ball skills. Everybody else said corner. Why? Elite ball skills. But they said it's just so hard to find a shutdown corner like that. However, they all said, even though we start him at cornerback, we're definitely find packages in place for him on the offensive side of the ball.
So on Says All Sides, Hunter should primarily play cornerback in the NFL.
If I was him, I would prefer to be wide receiver. There's more money to be made at wide receiver than a corner. If I'm a team, yeah, I'd rather have him be a corner than a wide receiver. But either way, I think you do what Deion did, and you let him play both ways at an insanely high rate. So Hunter should play primary corner in the NFL. I'm going to go offside on that.
Offside. All right, last one here. Penn State enters the playoffs as the 6th seed against number 11 SMU. Quarterback Drew Aller has thrown for nearly 3,000 yards and 21 touchdowns to go along with 7 picks, adding another 6 scores on the ground. And he's gone 21-5 as a starter. Now today, ESPN's Pete Thamel reported that Aller informed coaches that he intends to return to Happy Valley next year for his senior season. So on Sides All Sides, Aller is making the right call by returning to Penn State for another season.
Yeah, he's had a solid season. He hasn't had a great season. He played really well in the Big Ten championship game. But even in a year when the quarterback draft isn't that great, if everything goes right for Aller, he'd be, the third quarterback off the board at that best? Because Shador and Cam are going in front of him. So you could really improve your stock next offseason or this offseason and with the upcoming season, and we can then see what you are in the draft 2 years from now. So Aller's making the right call by returning to Penn State for another season on sides. I don't know if you saw this, Stu. I thought this was a fake tweet that I saw earlier this morning. Ended up being real. Did you see what former prominent NFL quarterback is now going to be a college coach?
I did.
Do you know who the coach is?
Michael Vick.
Yeah. Sacramento State. This is from Adam Schefter. Is in discussions to hire former QB Mike Vick as its head coach. And the school plans to move up to FBS, is building a new stadium, and has over $50 million in NIL. Sacramento State would build an experienced coaching staff around Vick. It's the hiring trend right now. Inexperienced coaches or just big-name coaches, and it's all about the dinero. It's all about the money. How about that? You could have gave me a million guesses of what we were going to be talking about tonight. If you would have told me Michael Vick being a college coach, I would be laughing. I would never thought that'd be a possibility. But here we are, and we'll continue with the Zach Gelb Show when we come on back next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
What's going on? Hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. I got a very simple poll question, but it actually could be a complex poll question just because I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I really don't. So right now, who is the best team in the NFL? Eagles, Chiefs, Lions, Bills. Stu, I'll put you on the spot first, and then I'll break it down and give you what my answer is. Who do you think is the best team in the NFL currently?
Bills.
You think it's the Bills?
I do.
Okay. So the listening audience agrees with you. 55.4% right now say that the Buffalo Bills are the best team in the NFL. Who do you think is the second? If I gave you the options, it's the Bills, Lions, Chiefs, Eagles are the 4 that I put on the poll question. Who would you think is second?
I would say Chiefs second.
It's actually the Eagles second. Now, would you still think the Chiefs are third?
I mean, I would put the Chiefs second, so I'll say third, I guess. But based on what people are voting, Chiefs or the Lions, I just feel like the Lions are so banged up right now. I don't know. I would say Chiefs third.
So it's actually the Lions in the poll question third at 10.2%. By a razor-thin margin as the Chiefs are at 9.6%.
And what were the Eagles at?
24.9%.
Wow.
So you would go Bills 1, and then how would you rank them 2, 3, and 4?
Chiefs 2, Eagles 3, Lions 4.
Which I can't crush you for that. Because the Lions right now, and it's funny, 3 weeks ago, it was Lions, 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 Lions. The Lions are going to a Super Bowl. You know, I had a buddy of mine, Stu, who reached out to me. He's from Detroit. He is a massive Lions fan. And he goes to me, can you make me a promise? This was before yesterday's game. I go, okay, what's the promise? He goes, if the Lions get to the Super Bowl, I need you to get me a ticket. And I said, yeah, I could get you a ticket, but you're going to have to pay for it. Like, I could get him a face value ticket to go to the Super Bowl. I would think I'd be able to get that done. But I go, you got to behave yourself, and you can't get kicked out of the game. You can't sell the ticket, but I could get you a ticket, I would think, for face value. And I wonder, because I haven't heard from him since yesterday, after seeing that terrible performance up against the Bills, where he's at right now. And that's the tricky part. I don't think he could ever touch the money with the Super Bowl ticket. And I know it's tough because it costs so much, right? You got to figure out the airfare. You got to figure out the hotel. But any year that I have gone to the Super Bowl, I have never based it around my team being there. Like, I've thought, they could get there. But I said, I'm going to go to the game either way because, most of the time it's for work. Now, there was a year where I knew I was going for work. It was in Houston. That was 28-3. And I booked it because it was on work's time to stay through the game. And then I got my ticket when I was there. But I've never said, I'm buying the ticket like 3 months in advance, knowing the Patriots are going to be there. Because usually when you do that, you touch the money and your team doesn't get there. So I think that's always a dangerous thing to do when you're a sports fan. And I wasn't paying for it, Stu. But there was one time I was told I would be going to the game if my team was there. And do you know how demoralizing it is? Well, you don't because you're a Raiders fan.
Yeah, not even close.
But do you know how demoralizing it is when you're told you're going to the game if your team is there, you're going to the Super Bowl if your team is there, and then you lose? I'll never forget it. Young Zach Gelb, 2006 football season, Patriots with Riche Caldwell and Doug Gabriel as their best wide receivers. They have a bye, divisional round. They beat the Chargers. I'll never forget that game. Brady threw a pick. Troy Brown popped out the football. They recovered it off the return. That was the game where afterwards LT, LaDainian Tomlinson, was crying, the Patriots are classless and it starts with the coach. It starts with the big bad coach. Because they did the lights out dance. Yeah, like Vince Wilfork and Roosevelt Colvin. Oh, I love Roosevelt Colvin. They were doing the lights out dance after they beat the Chargers, who were 14-2. And that was the best Chargers team I've seen in my lifetime. That was a team that should have went to the Super Bowl, should have gone to the Super Bowl. So they're playing the Indianapolis Colts. That was the AFC Championship game. And as you know, up until that point in the rivalry, it was death taxes, the Patriots beating the Colts. They always beat the Colts. They always smacked the Colts, whether it was Ty Law, 3 interceptions, Teddy Bruschi making an incredible play, Rodney Harrison making an incredible play. They always beat the Colts. So my dad was going to the Super Bowl for work. And he told, young Zach Gelb, I'm going to take you with me. Right? I'll remember the whole itinerary. He was staying at the Fontainebleau, right? Down in Miami. He had tickets ready to go. He just had to get an airfare, a plane ticket for me. And the Patriots were up like 21-3 or 21-6 at halftime. And I'm a little kid thinking to myself, wow, I'm going to the Super Bowl. All right, now, I hate to say it, and it's going to sound snobby, but I've been to so many now through work that, don't get me wrong, it's still my favorite trip. I still love going. But if you don't go, it's not the end of the world to me anymore. That's when I was a kid. Right? And I've never been to a Super Bowl before. My team was going to be in it. And my dad's telling me, hey, you're going. You're going. As long as they're there. And at halftime, you know what my dad did? I'll never forgive him for this. He goes, I'm booking the plane ticket. Asante Samuel had an interception right before halftime, pick 6. And this thing was over. There's no way Bill Belichick and Tom Brady are choking that lead, I think it was by 18 points or something at halftime, to the Indianapolis Colts, who could never beat the Patriots. Right? Patriots end up losing the game. Ugh. My uncle, who's the reason why I'm a Patriot fan, we sat there on the couch after the game. And I know people could be like, oh, shut up. You had 3 Super Bowl championships already. You had 3 in 4 years. Shut up. But we sat there. I only think we moved to go to the table that was in front of us, the coffee table, to devour the chocolate chip cookies that were in front of us because we were depression eating. And we just sat there in silence and we didn't say a word. But I was devastated because I thought I was going to my first ever Super Bowl. I really did believe that. So I think that's a tricky game to play. When I have a friend texting me, hey, if the Lions get there, can you get me a ticket? Because if you already think you're getting there, in all likelihood, you're not going to get there. But to answer this poll question, right now, who is the best team in the NFL? Stu, you were Bills 1, what were
Chiefs
you?
2. Chiefs 2, Eagles 3.
Eagles 3, Lions 4. Now, this is right now. I'm going to say the Eagles are 1. I'm going to say the Bills are 2. Chiefs 3. Lions 4. That's how I would order them. And I'm looking why I would pick against that team. I look at the Eagles. The only thing that concerns me right now with the Eagles, it's weird. I won't say I've done a 180 on Sirianni, but I don't think Sirianni's the reason why they're not going to win. If the Eagles aren't going to win, it's going to be because a player like A.J. Brown's just selfish. And he cares more about getting, a divisional round and a conference championship game where he goes off, and he'd rather see, his team only win that way rather than, maybe only gets 4 catches for 30 yards, but they end up winning the game. So that's a concern I have. And that could derail a team, but compared to the other team's flaws, that's not the biggest concern in the world. I look at the Bills, that defense and the coach is concerning, but their offense, right? Chris Berman used to say, no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Well, the Bills are a wagon right now. They are the wagon. And what their offense is doing with Josh Allen, James Cook, the weapons aren't even that great. You got Amari Cooper, Dalton Kincaid, Keon Coleman. But what Josh Allen's doing, he wakes up and it's 40 points every week now. I look at the Lions, the injuries. Montgomery now out for the year. Aleem McNeil, I'm a big fan of, underrated player, out for the year. Hutchinson, we'll see if he's able to come back regardless of what they're selling you. Rodriguez out. Anzalone out. It's just a damn shame. And I said this about Detroit before the season. It felt special. It felt like this was going to be their year. And I remember saying this in a show in August. Because that's a franchise, right, that they just have that negative feeling. It's always, even when things are going right, it's like, wait for the other shoe to drop because they're cursed, right? That's what people think. And I just said, I really, really, really hope the reason why the Lions season doesn't turn out to be what it is if injuries happen. And injuries are inevitable in this game. And you got to have luck with these injuries. Everyone's going to have a team that gets hurt. But it's who do you lose? And the Lions have just lost star after star after star after star. So the injuries are catching up. And Kansas City, it's weird to say it. My concern right now is just the offense. And even with that being said, do they have to be great in the regular season? No. They weren't great last year in the regular season. When the lights are shining down the brightest, Mahomes is going to show up. So I look at this right now, and it's just because of how dominant Buffalo's offense would be, that would give, and they also beat the Chiefs. That's why I give the Bills a slight edge over the Chiefs. But I think it's actually the Eagles are 1, the Bills are 2, the Chiefs are 3, and the Lions are 4. And who would have ever thought, if you listened to the show last week, that I'd be getting on the air today, 11 minutes past 5 o'clock here on the East Coast, and I'd be saying that the Eagles are the team that are the best team in the NFL right now. And I keep on saying it, today. And it's weird that I'm saying it, but that's why I like going to games with the access that we get. And that's why I like going into the locker room. That's why I like hearing from the players and asking them questions at the podium. I just got a vibe when I heard Jalen Hurts speak yesterday that he knows what the main thing is. And the main thing is winning. And yes, when you take a glance at someone like A.J. Brown, his priorities weren't in the right place last week. But whatever happened in Philadelphia last week, they had their moment where they yelled at each other. They aired out those grievances, and now they've come together. We're sure, maybe A.J. Brown, I would hope, and maybe I'm giving too much of the benefit of the doubt, but maybe A.J. Brown now realizes, man, I was being selfish. And hey, even with me being selfish, they rewarded me. They let me go pop off and have a big game, over 100 yards, a touchdown. Devontae Smith also had over 100 yards as well and got in the end zone. But there's also going to be games where Saquon's going to be the man. There's also going to be games where Jalen Hurts is running the football, being the man. And that's what makes the Eagles such a potentially good team, is you look at their offense, they could smack you in the mouth with Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts running the ball downfield. They could also air it out with two really great wide receivers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. They have a really damn good offensive line. There's so many different ways that they could beat you, and that's what you need this time of the year. A diverse football team. Because teams can say, oh, we'll take out the outside players, right? We'll take out A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Then they're going to pound the rock down your throat. Or, oh, if we want to load the box like the Steelers did and try to take away Saquon, fine. We got A.J. Brown. We got Devontae Smith. And also the Eagles, they are the most complete team in football when you look at the offense, but in the defense, to see what has happened with Vic Fangio's defense from the start of the season to now, that team is balling. Absolutely balling right now in a 10-game win streak. So right now, who is the best team in the NFL? Eagles, Chiefs, Lions, or Bills? 55.6% say the Bills, 24.7% say the Eagles, 10.1% say the Lions, and 9.6% say the Chiefs. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. I also think yesterday, Stu, the MVP was officially over. Because it felt like for the last month, Josh Allen was going to win. When Josh Allen beat the Kansas City Chiefs, it really felt that way. Even when Josh Allen lost the other week, he still had 6 total touchdowns. But I'm looking at the odds right now. So Josh Allen is minus 1,000. Lamar Jackson is plus 700. Saquon Barkley, who's made a little bit of a push, but then yesterday did fall off in the MVP race, is at plus 1,300. Jared Goff at plus 2,500. Baker Mayfield plus 7,500. Sam Darnold plus 1,000. Joe Burrow plus 7,500. It's like Mahomes is even at plus 15,000 right now. Depending on what book you look at. Allen's going to win the award. And Allen right now is playing on a juggernaut of a team, but also, it's like you look at the Ravens, you look at Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. You look at the Eagles, oh, well, look how great that offense is with Hurts and Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. You look at the Lions, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown. I know Montgomery's now out for the year, but you got Jahmyr Gibbs. You got Sam Laporta. Baker Mayfield has Mike Evans. Sam Darnold has Justin Jefferson. Joe Burrow doesn't have the wins, but Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase. You look at Josh Allen. Amari Cooper's fine. He's older. Dalton Kincaid hasn't been healthy. James Cook is solid. Really solid. Keon Coleman's a rookie. This is the Josh Allen show. And that's why I picked Josh Allen in the offseason, because people were out in the Bills. People thought the Jets were going to win the division. So the bar was set lower. It was set up for Buffalo to overachieve. You were getting a malcontent out of the locker room in Stephon Diggs, and they were making the offense go through Josh, through his legs and through his arm. So that's why Josh Allen was set up to win the MVP, and he's over-delivered this year. Now, we'll see if he can over-deliver in the postseason, but it's a regular season award. So with 3 weeks left in the season, the fat lady has already sung, Josh Allen's going to win the MVP. But who do you think is the best team in the NFL right now? 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. 55.6% of you say the Bills, 24.7% of you say the Eagles, 10.1% say the Lions, and 9.6% say the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll take a break. We'll do some no-huddle offense next.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Touchdowns, sacks, upsets, and last-minute heroics. Another NFL Sunday is in the books, and we've got you covered with the biggest plays and sound bites from another wild week in the National Football League. It's time for No Huddle Offense on the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, let's start things off at 12th Man Country last night. It was the Packers and the Seahawks. Green Bay wins 30-13 over Seattle. The Packers defense, they had 7 sacks in the contest. Jordan Love was 20-27 for 229 yards through the air and 2 passing touchdowns. Josh Jacobs got off to a hot start to get a touchdown at 26 carries for 94 yards. Also 4 receptions for 42 yards. Romeo Doubs had not 1 but 2 touchdowns on 3 catches. And you look at the Seahawks, Geno Smith got injured in the game. He was 15 of 19 for 149 yards, no touchdowns, and a pick. Sam Howell was a abysmal 5 of 14 for 24 yards and an interception. Zach Charbonnet had 8 carries for 54 yards and a touchdown. Charbonnet also had a reception for 12 yards. Jackson Smith-Njigba with 10 catches for 83 yards. DK Metcalf only 3 catches for 28 yards. As the Pack win 30-13, Green Bay now 10-4 in the season. Seattle falls to 8-6. As it's going to be the Seahawks or the Rams probably making the postseason out of the NFC West. But let's listen up to the first touchdown snag by Romeo Doubs. This courtesy of Jordan Love from 13 yards out.
Love looks over the defense, takes the snap, he's back to pass. Love has time, bouncing in the pocket, lofts it deep down the middle of the field for the end zone. It is caught! Touchdown Green Bay! Romeo Doubs, his second of the night. Jordan Love with a moonball down the middle, and Doubs underneath the goalpost with a sliding catch. He picked it right off the top of the turf. 22 yards, and the Packer lead is now 29-13. What a catch by Doubs.
So that was the second touchdown catch for Romeo Doubs of the evening. I thought we were playing the first one, but that's fine. That is the Packers and the Seahawks. Stu, what's the question here?
Yeah, you talk about Jordan Love. What's your confidence level in Love leading the Packers deep into the playoffs?
Not high. I like Love. I don't love Love right now. He's a really good quarterback, but I look at it. Last year they got to the second round, and then he threw that ball across the body, and it got intercepted. I just still think they're a year away. I think they're a team that could win a playoff game. Am I expecting to get to an NFC championship game? I do not. So if I'm going to say deep into the playoffs, it would get to the NFC championship game. I still think they're another year away. You know, they're a good team, but I think they're going to stay the same from where they were a year ago. All righty, let's go Bills and Lions. Josh Allen, he's been a touchdown machine as of late. He's going to win the MVP. Let's hear his 4-yard touchdown run.
Allen in the shotgun, receiver to each side. Here's the snap on 2nd and goal, and it's an Allen keeper, and he sails into the end zone on a 4-yard touchdown run. Oh my, was that easy? That might be the least amount of contact Josh Allen has had on a touchdown run all season.
I'm a little concerned about Josh Allen, Stu. You have any idea why I'd be concerned about Josh Allen?
Oh, because maybe too many people, I don't know, think he's the MVP. I don't know what the reason would be.
Well, last week he had 6 total touchdowns. This week he only had 4 total touchdowns. Is Josh Allen struggling? 855-212-4227. He had 2 passing touchdowns yesterday, 23 of 34 for 362 yards. And he also had 11 carries for 68 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. James Cook had 14 carries for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ty Johnson was the Bills' leading receiver. Who would have thought that? 5 receptions for 114 yards. And for Josh Allen, it's his 5th straight game with the rushing touchdown. Jared Goff threw for 494 yards, 5 passing touchdowns. You know what? I'll ask you a question, Stu.
Okay.
You usually ask me a question, or you ask me a question later. What is more impressive? Josh Allen last week having 6 total touchdowns and losing to the Rams? Or Jared Goff throwing for 494 yards and having 5 passing touchdowns and losing to the Bills? What's more impressive?
Ooh, it's close. I still think Allen against the Rams those numbers that he put up, scoring all those touchdowns, I still can't believe it.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't think
It's
you
close,
go wrong
though.
here.
I think it's close.
Yeah, I don't think you could pick wrong here. I really don't. But geez, 494 and 5 touchdowns, not good enough. Just wild. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 14 catches for 193 yards and a touchdown in this one. Sam Laporta also had over 100 yards, 7 receptions for 111 yards. That's crazy. You look back at this. If I would have told you St. Brown had a 193, Laporta had 111, and Gibbs had 83 just through the receptions and receiving yards, you would have thought they easily would have won the game. But they did not. They ended up losing the game 48-42, and that score looks closer than how the game did play on out. So that's Bills and Lions. Stu, I asked you a question, but now it's time for you to ask me a question. What do you got?
Yeah, looking at the Lions' defense, especially with all their injuries, how concerned are you with their struggles of late?
Very concerning. Because it'd be one thing if you had guys that were healthy. You get guys that are struggling, and they keep on getting hurt, and they keep on losing guys. So we know that team can go toe-to-toe with anyone offensively, but can you stop anyone? That's a big concern. Buccaneers and the Chargers. I was really excited for this game. I thought this was going to be an exceptional game, and I was wrong. It was exceptional for the Buccaneers. It was a disaster for the Chargers. Remember how good we were saying the Chargers defense was? What the heck happened yesterday? They lost to the Buccaneers 40-17. Baker Mayfield had 4 passing touchdowns. Mike Evans, his Hall of Fame career continues. 9 catches for 159 yards and 2 touchdowns. Go, Bucky. Go. Bucky Irving, 117 rushing yards. Rashad White had 64 rushing yards as well. Justin Herbert, 195 passing yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Team had a total of 32 rushing yards in the game. Ladd McConkey, he finds the end zone, 5 catches, 58 yards and a score. Quentin Johnston scored as well, 5 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown. But that wasn't even nearly enough as the Buccaneers smack the Los Angeles Chargers by a score of 40-17. What a performance by Tampa Bay. They're now 8-6. Chargers fall to 8-6. Stu, what's the question here?
Yeah, you look at the Buccaneers. Where do you rank them in the NFC as a whole?
Well, I'll give you that answer in just a second, but first, let's hear Baker Mayfield find Mike Evans on a 57-yard touchdown strike.
Here's the snap, chest high. Mayfield looking to his left, still looking to his left, directing traffic. Throws the ball downfield. Caught ball! Mike Evans down the sideline. Is he inbounds to the 10? 5, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown Tampa Bay! Touchdown Tampa Bay Buccaneers! Did he stay in bounds, Mr. Ref?
I love Gene Deckerhoff. I really do. The only thing that stinks is that game wasn't in Tampa Bay, because then he could be like, fire the cannons, fire the cannons, fire the cannons. Did he stay in bounds? Touchdown Tampa Bay, touchdown Tampa Bay. I love Gene Deckerhoff. Phenomenal broadcaster, an absolute legend. Salute to him. So Stu asked me, where do you rank the Bucs in the NFC? Eagles are better, Lions are better, Vikings are better. After that, I think you can make the case that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the 4th best team in the NFC. Like, if you ask me right now, do I trust Green Bay or Tampa Bay more? I'm trusting Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers more. Slightly. You look at the LA Rams. I think the LA Rams are very dangerous, but I don't even know if they're going to make the postseason. So here's what I'll say. The Bucs are either 4th or 5th in the NFC. I've been very impressed with the Buccaneers, and they lost to the Falcons twice. Atlanta, you better beat the Raiders tonight. All righty, let's go Dolphins and Texans. Remember last week when I told you I went on 560 WQAM and I got into a heated argument with Mark Hochman? Because he was trying to tell me that Tua Tagovailoa is a better quarterback than Joe Burrow. And I laughed at him on his own radio show. Well, Tua had not 1, not 2, but 3 interceptions yesterday. And the Texans ended up winning the game 20-12. My, oh my, what a terrible performance for Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins. C.J. Stroud, 18-26, 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. The leading rusher for the Houston Texans was Dare Ogunbowale. Say that name 10 times fast. He had 1 carry for 35 yards. And receiving-wise, the leading receiver for the Houston Texans was Joe Mixon with only 33 yards. Tyreek Hill only 2 catches for 36 yards. Jalen Waddle, no catches in the contest on 2 targets. Jeez, what an ugly, and I mean an ugly, sloppy game. Is there a highlight from this one? I guess the low light. Our pal Nico Collins put the Texans up 20-6 on this touchdown catch.
Bunch formation right, CJ under center, Mixon in the backfield, 2nd and goal at the 6. CJ fakes the give, boots out to the right. He's on the roll. CJ looking. CJ trying to buy some time, throws to the end zone. Caught! Nico Collins Touchdown number 2 on the day. What a player.
I look at the question on this one, Stu. Ask it, and then I don't think your answer is going to surprise me whatsoever.
Yeah, talking about Houston, are they still a year away, or do you think is there a way they can make a run this year?
Yeah, they're still a year away. Them and the Packers are very similar, where I thought they could take that next step after such an impressive season a year ago where I really believe in the young quarterback, and I still do, but they haven't taken that next step. You know, you look at the Texans' wins this year. They beat the Colts. They beat the Bears. They beat the Jaguars. They beat the Patriots. You know, they beat the Cowboys. They beat the Jaguars. And they beat the Dolphins. They beat the Jaguars twice. It's like, you look at that schedule. All right, they beat Buffalo earlier in the season. That was their best win. But that's when Buffalo wasn't playing all that great. Right? Sean McDermott had that stupid decision at the end of the game trying to, throw the ball from the back of his own end zone when they should have just ran the ball and really ate the clock. That's just one of those, that's their best win. And the Bills could be going to the Super Bowl, but the next few weeks they play the Chiefs and the Ravens and then the Titans. They should beat the Titans. They also should have beat them a few weeks ago. They lost 32-27. Am I feeling great about the Texans going up against the Chiefs, the Ravens? Maybe the Chiefs because Mahomes could be out. But even if you win that game and you beat the Chiefs without Mahomes, it's not like you could really puff your chest out. When I started to get concerned about the Texans, it was in that loss to the Green Bay Packers. Because, they only lost by 2 points on the road in Lambeau Field. But C.J. Stroud in that game only had 86 passing yards. So you ask me, is Houston still a year away or can they make a run this year? I still think they're a year away. I don't think they're in the same class, even though they beat Buffalo this year as the Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs. And wouldn't that be something? They beat the Chiefs this week? They could beat the Chiefs and the Bills, and I still don't think they're in the same class as the Chiefs and the Bills when you look back at that one. All righty, let's go to the Colts and the Broncos. Man, it looked like the Colts were going to get this one done. Jonathan Taylor, he dropped the ball right before scoring a touchdown. I don't get why players still do this. Then you had this trick play where a breakout player this year, he's been unbelievable, already double-digit sacks, takes it to the house for a 50-yard, I guess they ruled this a fumble return for a touchdown. This was sick, and it opened up the floodgates for the Denver Broncos to go on to win this game by a pretty big margin.
This is going to be a double pass. They throw it, complete it, throw it back to Richardson. It's going to be intercepted. Intercepted Nick Bonito. Bonito to the end zone. Touchdown, Denver. 50 yards on the pick six. This place is a madhouse.
So he won't win Defensive Player of the Year, but, I think there's a great case to be made for him in Nick Bonito because he gets that touchdown yesterday. And on the season, he has 11.5 sacks. That's tied for third in the league. And he's been just ridiculous this year. Now, comeback player of the year this year, Stu. They didn't want to reward it to someone that just was bad, right? And then just had a breakout season. I think we were the reason for that because Joe Flacco basically said on the show that Damar Hamlin should have won comeback player of the year over him. So they want you to overcome something serious or an injury or something, right? Isn't that the standard for now comeback player of the year?
Yeah, so someone like Darnold, I guess, would not, obviously statistically,
not eligible.
But I guess he's not eligible for it, yeah.
Because if you just look for comeback player of the year, Nick Bonito last year played in 15 games. You know what? He had 8 sacks last year. I didn't realize he had 8 sacks. So, you know what? Maybe I'll pump the brakes on the case for comeback player of the year. Is there a breakout player of the year? Because he should be right in that conversation. But this dude should get some MVP. Should get some defensive player of the year votes. Let me just see this real quickly, and I'm going to do this on the fly. Do you think he's in top 3 defensive player of the year in terms of odds? I would say no.
I would guess no as well.
So let's just see. Can we get a current number? Well, first, do me this. Ask me the question, and then I'll find it. Because the defensive player of the year odds, these are coming from 4 days ago. Yeah, he wasn't even in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He wasn't even in the top 9 10 days. What was this? What did I say, 10 days ago? 4 days ago. 4 days ago. So maybe we could see so. Oh, they skyrocketed. With back-to-back touchdowns. He did a touchdown the other week. His defensive player of the year odds have skyrocketed. I'll get to the number in just a second. But give me the question here, Stu.
Sure. Looking in the AFC West, which is the better AFC West team, the Broncos or the Chargers?
I think it's the Chargers. I think both are just good. I don't think they're very good. I don't think they're great. I just trust Herbert more than Bo Nix. And I trust Jim Harbaugh a little bit more than Sean Payton. So here are the latest AP NFL regular season Defensive Player of the Year awards. Where do you think Benito is after yesterday? His odds have skyrocketed. He wasn't even in the top 10 last week.
I would say, let's say 6th.
3rd.
Wow.
Do you think you can name the 2 players that are in front of him? One's obvious.
TJ Watt.
TJ Watt. Could you guess the 2nd? You don't have to go that far, is what I'll say. That's the hint. That's the clue.
Won't have to go that far. Is it someone on the Eagles? Who would it be on the Eagles?
Don't go that far from the player we're talking about. We're talking about Nick Benito.
Oh, Mr. Surtain out in Denver.
He doesn't even have the highest odds on his own team.
That's crazy.
Pat Surtain is the best cornerback in football at plus 380. Huh. Could you guess who 4 and 5 are? They're on the same team as well. 4 and 5 on the same team as well.
Vikings.
No. The Vikings have 6. Andrew Van Ginkel. He's at 6 at plus 2,200. Can you give me 4 and 5? Same team. We talked about this team in this segment.
Okay, we talked about this team in this segment. So I would guess that's Chargers or...
You'd be wrong on the Chargers. I said maybe at one point this offseason that this could be the most underrated move of the offseason for this player.
So if you... Okay, so the Texans...
Yep.
So Hunter would be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Will Anderson Jr.
Okay. Yeah.
Both at plus 1,900.
Wow.
Think of, if you would have told me before the year, TJ Watt, Pat Surtain would be 1 and 2 for Defensive Player of the Year, I could see it. Nick Benito, no offense, we would have never seen that.
No.
Danielle Hunter, even though I was very optimistic, I would have thought it'd be Will Anderson over him. And Andrew Van Ginkel, a very good player with the Dolphins before that, but what he's doing with the Vikings is just insanity, and that's a big credit to Brian Flores. And it's going to be Watt who wins the award. When Watt wins the award, will we have Micah Parsons cry about it this year? Will Micah Parsons not show up to the ceremony? Because that's what he was really annoyed with how TJ Watt operated that when Myles Garrett won the award last year. I'll get to Rob in Connecticut after the break. We'll also come on back. We'll talk about the 2 Monday Night Football games and 2 names to monitor that maybe aren't being talked about greatly for potential NFL head coaches this year. Or, they've been talked about, but you may not really know who they are. We'll get to all that on the other side to wrap up the show. Update time first. Here is Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Zach Lyons lost more than just an 11-game win streak to the Bills. David Montgomery, Aleem McNeil, both done for the rest of the season. Knee surgery, while Carlton Davis is out indefinitely with a fractured jaw. Word for Patrick Mahomes, reportedly a high ankle sprain, not said to be too serious. Unclear if he'll play Saturday against the Texans. Monday Night Football features a double dip. You got the Bears and Vikings, followed by the Falcons and Raiders. Atlanta looking to put to bed a 4-game skid where Kirk Cousins asked about switching things up to get himself back on track.
It's not you completely blow up your process, but at the same time you say, hey, clearly there's something here in my decision-making or my fundamentals or the way I'm seeing the field or the way I'm playing the game that needs to be improved or tweaked, so let's also look at doing that. So I think it's both, and that's why you have TJ Yates and DJ Williams and Zach Robinson to help you on that journey, on that process.
Now, elsewhere, the Jets reportedly meeting with former Falcons GM Thomas Dimitroff about their vacant spot after they fired Joe Douglas mid-season. 49ers suspended Devondre Campbell for 3 games after he refused to enter the game against the Rams on Thursday night. Joel Embiid out indefinitely, signed his fracture. He'll be reevaluated in a week. And from college football, Penn State quarterback Drew Aller set to return for his senior season. I'm Marco Belletti.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. You can submit a question by tweeting at INS Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros like Todd in Tampa did. And he said, Zach, You've talked about Bill Belichick. Also, you've talked about Mike Vrabel, in addition to Ben Johnson as being head coaches this upcoming year. With Belichick now off to UNC, and let's say a team can't hire Johnson or Vrabel, who would be on your list to hire as a head coach? You could submit a question by tweeting at INSSportsCenter, at Zach Gelb, using the hashtag AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts, where your car care needs to get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. I would say Joe Brady and Liam Cohen. Now, I think both of those guys have a good chance to get a job this offseason. I'm more impressed with Joe Brady because I know that you could say, oh, well, Joe has Josh Allen. They also lost Stephon Diggs. The offense picked up down the stretch last year after they got rid of Dorsey, and they made him the offensive coordinator. Liam Cohen went into a situation last year that Dave Canales had a lot of success in. And we know that Baker Mayfield, right, is a gamer. You got Mike Evans there. Sure, they've overcome Chris Godwin coming out from the year, being out for the year. Bucky Irving's been good. Rashad White has been good as well. But both are very impressive. I've just been a little bit more impressed with Joe Brady and this new identity. Now, with all that being said, if you said one gets a job over the other, I would say it's Liam, because he was on McVay's staff for a while with multiple stops with the Rams. And, if you've ever rubbed elbows with Sean McVay, you end up getting hired as an NFL head coach. So those are two names I think you could watch out for. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. Let's go to Rob in Connecticut. He's been holding for a bit. He's next up on the show. Rob, what's happening?
Hey, Zach, what's going on? I believe this is the first time I've ever spoken to you. I listen to Infinity Sports Network all the time. Legally blind, so I always rely on you guys to be my eyes. So I was listening to you earlier talking about who's the best team in the NFL right now, and I actually have to agree with you as far as the fact that I am a diehard Buffalo Bills fan. And of course I would say we're the best team, not just because we beat Detroit last night or yesterday, but when I look at it, the Eagles are so well-rounded. They're balanced out offensively and defensively because the Bills' defense is a little sketchy at times. So, I'm apprehensive with that, but I actually put Kansas City last, and then I put Detroit at 4, And, listen, if Detroit doesn't go to the Super Bowl, I'll be more than glad to take that ticket off your hand if Buffalo goes. So,
No. You know what? If the Bills get there, maybe we can make something happen for you, Rob. But I appreciate you always listening and appreciate you finally calling. And thanks so much for checking in with us for a few minutes today. There is Rob in Connecticut. And that was the poll question today. I'll give you the final calculations here. Right now, who's the best team in the NFL? Bills, Lions, Chiefs, Eagles. Bills at 56.1%, Eagles at 24.4%, Lions at 10%, and Chiefs at 9.4%. I gave you the Eagles 1 right now, the Bills 2, the Chiefs 3, and the Lions 4. Rob said it, and I get it. He's a Bills fan, so he's going to say the Bills. And if the Bills in the Super Bowl, it would shock nobody. Because right now, Josh Allen and that offense is an absolute wagon. They're unbelievable. But in the big games, and I wanted McDermott to be a coach before anyone did, I was saying that the Eagles should have hired him when I was doing radio in Philadelphia. They ended up hiring Doug Peterson. It worked out. But in big games, McDermott, he finds a way to squander away those opportunities, and the defense is just concerning. Now, I still put them as the second best team in the NFL, but what makes Philadelphia number one is they're just so balanced. Fangio has done wonders with that defense. Desai and Patricia, PU with what they did last year. Look what Fangio has done from the start of the season till now. And then you take a glance on the offense. Sure, there were problems this past week, but you got Hurts, good quarterback, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, great 1-2 punch, Saquon Barkley, one of the most explosive players in football, and an offensive line that's still really damn good, even though they just had to replace Jason Kelsey, who finally did retire. So I'd put the Eagles in at the number 1 spot. Now, let's get to the games tonight. Bears, Vikings, Falcons, Raiders. Why there's a doubleheader this late in the season, I don't know. And it's a doubleheader. They usually stagger it better. It's at 8 and 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Now, none of these games you really want to watch. Like, if you tell me there's something good on TV tonight and I don't have to watch these games, I'd be in for that. I got some reality TV to catch up doing because Stu and I were down in D.C., so I could catch up on a few things, but I'll watch the game because, I'm a talk show host that actually watches the games, and I got to be an astute observer so I could come in with the best and the craziest takes tomorrow. So Bears and Vikings is the one you'd rather tune into if you could only watch one. Be a little intrigue, all right? Caleb Williams, could he finish the season on a high note in these final 3-4 games? The Vikings just don't have a letdown with the way that Sam Darnold's playing. Justin Jefferson, that defense has been phenomenal, and Brian Flores could give Caleb Williams fits tonight. And then you look at the other games. I like the Vikings to win that game, but and probably cover the 7 points. It does seem big, but the Bears stink. And you look at the other game, Falcons and Raiders. Still, outside of your tight end Brock Bowers, is there any reason to tune in to see the Raiders up against a Falcons team that they better not lose this one, because if they lose this one, their season's over. But this is a Falcons team that clearly aren't going to be as good as what some people thought they were going to be.
Of course, Desmond Ridder revenge game against his former team.
The Desmond Ridder revenge game.
But no, that's keep the elegant tank going. If you're the Raiders, that's all I'm hoping for at this point.
What did you call it?
Elegant tank.
Elegant tank?
Yes.
Is that what they're calling it?
Yes. They're not getting blown out. They're playing in some close games, but they're losing every game. That's how you do it.
The elegant tank. I've never heard of it that way.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys made tanking fancy. I guess when you've done it for so many years, you got to come up with new terms. I am rooting for the Falcons tonight. Now, when I placed this bet, I had them at laying 4. It's now laying 6.5. Because I gave you the Bengals laying 5.5 on Friday, winner. I gave you the Packers laying 2.5, winner. And I also gave you the Falcons laying 4, hopefully to be a winner. Stu gave you the Chiefs laying 4.5, winner. Gave you the Dolphins +3, loser. And he gave you the Chargers laying 3, loser. But hey, in this society now, everybody's a winner, right? Everybody's a winner here at the Infinity Sports Network. Fun show, Sam to Stu. Thank you. Big thanks to Marco, each and every one of you. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. Brian Dawkins is going to join us. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.